Chasin The Racin, powered by Colchester Kawasaki. Part of the Global Moto Group, we supply new Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, Royal Enfield, Kawasaki, Sim, Mutt and Benelli motorcycles.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin The Racin, episode 161. I'm joined by our co-host.
He's officially a co-host. We're going to get a parking spot from outside the house.
For anyone watching the YouTube as well, you'll see that the armour's strapped up. So I think we'll start there. What's been occurring?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me back for, what is it, sixth time now?
Way more than that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it actually more than 6? Got to be,
Easy.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's about
Well, we hit 2 million followers on Instagram. We thought, how can we get another million? We'll bring back Christian Iddon.
I wish it was 2 million on Instagram. 2 million downloads this
2 million
week
downloads, sorry.
altogether. So a good landmark for us. So thanks to everyone that's been sharing the good word.
That's pretty impressive, lads. I've seen you've got loads of extra followers on loads of social media. We were just talking about, weren't we, about your social media platforms going skyrocketing.
Yeah. We don't know what. We don't know why. Like, is there any theories on that, Chrissy? Obviously, Grace is she's heavily involved in it now, and the consistency element of that is so important. Grace is actually working her arse off on it, but algorithms, I don't know. I'm not conspiracy driven enough to know why these things happen.
The only thing I can link it to is from the TT. Do you know them flyby videos? Some of them are getting hundreds of thousands of views. So if after during TT week, because there was so much content going out, they weren't really standing out. But since everything's calmed down after the TT, those videos are still getting sort of shared on, and it'll be to do with algorithms knowing you just for you page or whatever it is, homepage. And then I think people must see it and then think, oh, motorbike podcast, and then click through. So we'll have to wait until to see if it translates to more views. But yeah, the Instagrams went very, very sort of steady up to about 10,000.
Well, I saw your 10,000 post, then about 2 days later I saw your 15,000 post, and I was like,
it was, yeah. I mean, how mad? It literally 50% growth in followers over, I think it was 4 or 5 days, and then I think it's on 17 or 18 now as well.
So we do think it is nude. Someone's putting nudes out somewhere.
It's got to be some foot fetish gang out there. So there's a forum out there who's swallowing this up. 100% dodgy Geordies.
Do you know that whole foot fetish thing? That is a...
No, I don't know that whole... Enlighten me, Chrissy.
Welcome to the podcast, kids. Here we are.
I won't... Yeah.
First topic. We've got foot fetish.
I've got some friends that make very, very good money off selling pictures of the feet. And just people just pay stupid money to get to literally imagine a video. You just video yourself wiggling your toes and then send it, and someone sends you 50 quid. It's a thing. And people
take the OnlyFans element, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's similar to OnlyFans, but do you know if your missus was say on, or I can understand why people wouldn't be comfortable with say wives being on OnlyFans. I do understand that. However, if you're say if Nicola was getting a few say £300-400 a week for sending pictures of feet for dudes,
as a married man, would you have
be
a problem
comfortable with that?
I think I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, well,
as long as I got a cut.
Christian rolls in next time in a brand new van. Yeah, Nicola's putting the shifts in. She's worked off her feet.
It is mad though. You know, the world we live in, that. People can make a living like that.
No, I've got a friend, right? She's a mortgage advisor, and they will approve a mortgage on OnlyFans if you have an OnlyFans account, because it's a written-in contract, so people subscribe at 6. My knowledge of this is coming far too apparent. They also can get 6 months or 12-month contracts, and that's a set fee. So, if their wives get collar their husbands on it, they still have to pay that amount. That's actually a steady contract. So you think any of us employed, me being self-employed, even going back to the subject, employed people can get the sack at any moment. But imagine having a direct income for the year. And that's what the bank will actually approve on the safety element of it. Well, that's class, isn't it?
I've actually, there's a AMA Supercross rider who is sponsored by a girl on OnlyFans.
A girl on OnlyFans?
Yeah. And I only know about that because I follow his profile.
You're being very we are all being very careful here.
I promise, Nicola, I promise.
But then I also saw there was a whole shot award in an American race that was sponsored by a different girl with an OnlyFans account. So they're even advertising to their demographic that they think is their demographic.
That's class.
And then putting money back in.
Wow.
So it's a different form of sponsorship. So it's no longer your fag money or your beer money. It's your...
Well,
if anyone's listening and wants to help the cause.
I said, no, but remember that I can never pronounce his name. Timmy, like TT rider. He had OnlyFans written on his R6 and his R1.
The French guy.
That looked absolutely class, fully sponsored up. Because remember, it was like the Pornhub days of... I
was going to say the Pornhub days with Tyson when he brought out the MV Augusta.
Yeah, and it didn't happen, did it?
By the way, do you know why that got pulled? I think we actually spoke about this on the podcast, so if anyone listens to the Dave Tyson one, they'll know, but that got pulled and it was all down to French regulations because they have very, very strong rules against advertising in sport, against cigarettes and pornography. Mm-hmm. And so basically what happened was when that bike got released, Eurosport, which is based in France, got in touch with BSB and said we'll cut the feed immediately if that bike's seen on the grid. So it wasn't the fact that BSB had a problem with it or anyone that all came from the TV rights, and that's because it's French and it's really strict in France.
And that's why the French went to the Isle of Man. Ooh la la, put what we want on the bike. That's a good point. Have we actually discussed? This is perfect timing. You've done Spa and you did the commentary work. Did you discuss that at the TT review?
No,
the last episode.
Not really.
So I forgot I'd done Spa.
There you are. Jesus, there's a lot's happened.
We started by mentioning your arm, but we'll get to your arm in a second.
Oh, he's fucked up. It doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Well, we started with feet and OnlyFans. I did not anticipate that line of starting out this podcast.
I tell you what, he's definitely a co-host, though, because we normally start off with Chris's lovely little spider diagram. We'll start here, work around here. We've literally jumped straight in with both feet. There's so many feet. God, but anyway, Spa. How was it then? 24 hours at Spark. No, I'm thinking you.
It must be hard commentating for 24 hours.
Because you were racing in it, and he was commentating.
I wasn't racing it. I was there.
Right. What?
So I was fourth rider. So basically, I was contracted by the CERT team, which are the world champions, which is awesome because it's a long time since I've ridden a bike with a number 1 plate on it, to be the fourth rider. Which I was mega excited about because it's a proper opportunity. It's world champions and all that, and they've got Sylvain Gintoli, they've got Greg Black and Xavier Simeon, so it's a proper team. But yeah, you just don't do anything really. Honestly, as fourth rider, I can't even begin to explain how little you do.
So what little did you do? So did you do a bit of qualifying? No. But did you do 5 laps of qualifying, or is that it? Or?
So I did the pre-test, which is 2 days, basically 2 bikes, and they were reasonably good with me there. And gave me a few laps, but it's still not loads. And then we got to the race itself. So you arrive, basically you're there all week, Monday then I flew home the Monday after. So I arrived Monday, get yourself sorted. Tuesday, there's 4 hours of free practice in the morning, which I did, no riding. Then there's 3 hours of free practice in the afternoon. And if Greg hadn't have sort of pushed the team to let me out, then I wouldn't have got out. So they decided to put the second bike ready for me. They put me a set of tyres on that had already done 2 stints, so 1 hour and 3/4 this set of tyres had done. Sent me out for an 8-lap run. I did 9 because I pretended to not read the pit board just because I wanted an extra lap. Then Wednesday's a day off. Then Thursday is another 3 hours of free practice. I did 2 laps. Then it's qualifying. So this is the only time I knew I was going to get my own real amount of time. So each rider, so there's red, green, blue, yellow, whatever it is.
You have to do a minimum.
You have your own. No, you get your own session.
Oh.
So I get my own session, so it's mint. So all them boys did theirs, and because I'm fourth rider, you're the last one, really. And then came to my go, and I was a bit nervous because I'd only done 2 laps that day prior, so I'm up to 10 laps so far. Got to me, and they're like, right, we'll give you a new tyre, so I was all excited. It's Bridgestone, so it's really, really different bike to what I'm used to anyway, just because of the Bridgestones. And they said, right, this is the hardest possible option we can run in the race. We need you to check to see if it's safe for them to go out on.
Cheers, lads.
So bear in mind, Bridgestones are the hardest things you've ever ridden anyway. In comparison to Pirellis, they're night and day different. Even the soft compound is the hardest thing you can ride on a Pirelli. So I was bricking it. But actually it was okay, but I went round and I was quite close to the guys in that session. I wasn't far off what the other boys did on there.
And that'll be impressive because you're used to BSB tyres, so I bet you were point something off them rather than
I wasn't close, but I wasn't far considering.
Yeah.
And then so that was that. I was quickest in my session, which is about the best you can do. As in, you can't do too much.
Yeah, especially riding with a hard on.
Do you not love it whenever like they do it on MotoGP, don't they? And he's got hard on.
I've totally glazed over. This is an inside joke. This one.
No, it's just like you never watched the racing. Keith Ewan used to be terrible for it, mentioning a hard on.
Shut up, man. Really?
It's all the time. Jack Miller, he's going well because he's got a hard on.
Oh, class, man.
Then on that night, so we're Thursday now. On that night, you've got night practice, which was delayed, so it was 11 till 1:30.
Is that the first time you've ridden in the dark?
No, I've done Le Mans 24-hour.
Ah, so yeah, but
So I was happy with it. Yeah,
Holden Spa's really
dark.
really dark.
Yeah, I know. So it got to 1:26 in the morning. I was like, I'm hoping I get out, and that's when I got the last 4 minutes of the session. So I did 3 laps, and actually for Spa they'd done because it's so dark, they were worried for safety, so they allowed all the teams to have additional lighting. And I've got no idea why, but for my session they took the additional lighting off. It was like trying to handicap me. They weren't, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, they changed the fairing. So I did 3 laps of night practice, and then the following day you get another qualifying. So it's Q2 basically. And what they did is they give all the team, a qualifying tyre. So everyone went really fast in our team. And the 4th rider doesn't count towards the tyre sticker allocation. So I was convinced I was going to get my qualifier as well. But I didn't. They just put the tyres that I had on yesterday. So it was the hardest option race tyre that had already done a session. So it took a bit of understanding for me, because it's weird because you like in any form of racing that's not endurance, you used to be in the complete centre of attention, and everything revolves around you, on your side of the garage anyway. You know, everything you ask for is not like pandered to, but it's listened to, and they try to make it as good as you want it, and this, that and the other. But yeah, being 4th rider, it's a really weird experience in every way, because you don't know, one, you don't get many laps, so it's really hard to understand a track that's really technical and long like Spa is. I'm not used to riding with electronics, I'm not used to riding Bridgestones, you know, so it's a lot of things that I felt sort of out my comfort zone with. Then you want to be able to show that you can actually ride fast, so you know you've got to go kind of fast, but it's really hard to do in such a short period of time. Then you know you can't throw it up the road, because the one thing that is absolutely the biggest sin ever is if you're 4th rider and you chuck it up the road, because that's not what you're there for.
Yeah.
And then finally, it's like, how much feedback do they want from you? You know, I felt like I had a lot of information, even at the pace I was going, that I could give that I think would improve the bike. But like, I found myself like, do they want to hear it? Like, is it too much or are they going to think, well, what does he know? He's so slow. You know, like, waste of time saying it. So you sort of like find yourself not quite
in sort of no man's land.
Yeah. And then, it's weird that, you know, like you've got there's 3 seats for the riders, and then you sort of stand just out.
Would you do it again? Being 4th rider?
I am doing it again, so I'm
As 4th
contracted
rider.
to it, for the Bol d'Or. But
Nice.
I think now, because I understand it more, then I can accept it. You know, like when I went for the test, I wasn't sure when it was going to be my go, which was almost never. So I basically sat there for 2 days solid with my earplugs in, with my helmet sat on my lap, ready to go. Whereas I think all the other 4th riders up and down pit lane were in the coffee shop, and you know, like,
tabs and
do you know what I mean?
In all fairness, though,
look at that, Christian. It's very keen, no?
Well, he said that afterwards, like the team manager came over and he was like, after the test, he went, well, it's very nice to see that you're always ready.
Gold star for you.
in all fairness, though, like the fact you had virtually no seat time, and obviously all the new variables as well. And was your qualifying time like a 21-ish?
Yeah,
21, and the fastest lap of the race was a 21.
Yeah.
So it's and against riders that ride them all the time, know the track inside out, and all that sort of stuff. So
even in qualifying, so if you take it that I think there was there 40 or 50 entries, 45, something like that. So then times that by 4 or 3.5, because there's not always 4 riders. I was 15th or 16th overall in qualifying if you put me in the grand scheme of things. So it wasn't too bad, but you know, like for me wanting to show that I've got an ability to ride, it was too far off that I was comfortable with. But then, like I said, it's so hard to push hard because you don't know where the limit is. I don't know where the limit is at the Bridgestones. I don't know where the limit is with the track really, because it's like, we'll get onto it, but Spa is unreal.
I did tell you.
And just everything about it, you just don't know how hard to push. You know, when you're not comfortable at a pace, you can go over the limit so easy, can't you?
Did you notice much of a difference with the electronics?
Massive. So yeah, I've not ridden with electronics for well, I guess the last time was at Le Mans when I rode the 24-hour bike there, but that was just on standard BMW electronics.
I was about to say, that was on a BM, not a...
That was on a BM, but we ran the road electronics because that worked out okay.
Like super stock.
Yeah, like super stock, yeah. So this was on Morelli, the cert bike's on Morelli. And actually the first test I got to, I just couldn't ride it because in the beginning, because it gave so little power. And I think in BSB, you get used to turning the bike with the rear to finish corners off, that it wouldn't give me enough power. So I was like just running wide everywhere. And especially with the Bridgestones, I think you turn a lot with the front, and I'm not used to that because that's not sort of what you do so much with the Pirelli, that I really struggled. Actually, in the afternoon, they gave us a load more power, and suddenly I could use it. You know, it was all of a sudden I could turn the bike. They didn't change anything chassis-wise. It's just literally how much power it gave. So it was an interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the hardest things I've done as a job. And it's stupid because you get paid to go and basically sit in the hotel and have a nice breakfast. And then I went and got my hair cut, and, you know, like had nothing to do, you know, like watch bike racing. It sounds like the easiest job, but actually when you want to be involved and you want to play your part, you know, I was hoping someone got a little bout of, you know, like food poisoning or something, you know, like just
bit of the vid.
Yeah, just I kept going, you feeling all right, you know, like, oh.
Just fill him in the car park. Just
but in the middle of the night, like Sylvan, who I think Sylvan, well, I know Sylvan was just incredible, you know, like I watched all the stints and he was just unreal. And then I seen him probably about 2-3 in the morning. I was like, how is it? And he I think he was fed up of his life really by then. And, you know, I said, well, I could just put your leathers and helmet on and just walk in the garage with the visor down, you know, just do a stint. Like, no one would know. Like, literally, as long as you didn't crash it, no one would know. So,
and what was Sylvan's answer to that?
I don't think he was too against it, if I'm honest with you, at the time. But, yeah, you couldn't do it, could you, as a professional team? But
next time, he's got a plan.
I wanted to do it.
I tell you what, you've just boosted the English viewers. I'm watching Eurosport now going, Sylvan's a bit taller. What's going on here? Lift your visor. Lift your visor.
Do you know how they've just spent a fortune on the circuit in order to try and attract the likes of like the World Endurance and hopefully other big international events, bike racing back to Spa.
BSB, if you are listening, please.
Hey, we've been to Assen.
Spa.
Did you feel, in terms of like safety of the circuit, did you feel like it was like similar to the circuits we race on in BSB?
Good question. How you've said similar to circuits I've raced on BSB. I thought the question was going to be, do you find it safe? And the answer is no. Then when you said, do you find it similar to circuits in BSB? I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. There's like they're talking and wanting MotoGP. I think that the speeds would be. No, it's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And there's certain parts of the track where I don't think the barriers can go further back.
Yeah.
So like the run to the last chicane, there's like a double left. The first one is sixth. Absolutely, you just do not shut off. And I think even in the wet, it'll be a slight roll. And if you just took the front there, like you wouldn't stop till you got to Germany. You know, like there's just no way. And the barrier's not that far away. So it's one of them. It's not a safe track, and it's such a big track that the slow corners are still fast. Mm-hmm. It's one of them where you have to change the perception of speed in your head.
Yeah. Because
it is so fast.
You rode there before the latest safety modifications, didn't you?
Yeah, I rode there when it was dangerous. There you are, sending Herbertson, he'll do it.
I mean, but one of the so I've ridden the safe track.
You all right there, Chris?
Just tickled us.
I've ridden the safe track, you know, like Eau Rouge section or whatever it's called.
Oh, mate!
But I can't imagine what that was like when the wall was there, because like you'd still hit the wall now.
Really?
Oh, 100%.
Oh,
wow.
100% you still hit the wall now. So you would definitely hit the wall before.
I tell you, but all seriousness, that was a very valid point though. Is it as safe as what BSB is now? We're like, yeah, in some parts of it. Yeah, no, it's, you know, when you put
That's
it like
why
that,
the question
you're right.
was different.
No, it's a good question, a hellish good question, but imagine it though.
But it's amazing. It's probably the best. It is not probably. It is the best track I've ever ridden.
Yeah. So if there was a choice between going to Assen or Spa, would you prefer?
That's hard because I love Assen as well.
Go on then.
I'd do both, and I'd add Anglesey in the mix as well. So we're going really far out,
I do think we should race at Anglesey.
but backwards.
I've never done it backwards.
No, neither have I. I don't think anyone has, but
That would be interesting. That would be interesting. That would be interesting.
But I think one of the things with Spa as well, the danger is part of the element of the excitement of it, of riding it.
I think it'd be quite a hard play. You wouldn't be able to fill it because the lap is so vast. You know what I mean? It's designed for F1 and everything like that. But as far as like British, spectators would have such a good time going because you can access absolutely anywhere on the circuit. There's no bit that are forbidden. You could get, and the actual facilities that are there, they've got their own fuel, like a massive.
Well, I went wandering because obviously I had nothing to do for 24 hours. So
nice haircut, by the way.
Thanks. I went wandering and I set off at 2 and got back at 7 just because I was just wandered around and it was.
Wow. Did you
literally that far? Just like it's massive.
I tell you what, they did a class job of. So in the run up to the weekend, they did like a big all the bikes, all the teams, put one rider and did a ride around the local town. And then right up to the track, and it looked absolutely like such a good idea. Imagine, like, say, if a BSB went to, I don't know, Brands, and then went for like a tour around the local area, and like.
But we used to do that. So I've been down to Chester, so not ridden down, but like when we go to Alton, we've been to Chester and stuff like that.
On the Thursday,
we don't seem to do that anymore, But yeah, a ride out would be even better, like they did there.
And do you know that video? Did you see the video Christian put on? Who was it? Greg Black, right?
No, Xavier Simeon. So they all rode down in the leathers, and Zav decided he was going to ride back just in his jeans and his helmet on. But like he was on slicks, like stone cold slicks, but they had like a police escort that came all the way back, and we followed them back in the car, and they weren't going slow either. Got to the track, and like this copper. He done Zav, but on the track, Zav starts running a bit wide. He's there, he's proper nervous. You can tell, he's on stone cold Bridgestone slicks with his jeans on, doesn't dare give it any lean angle, just starts to run a bit wide. And this copper goes from the outside, completely does the switchback and does him up the inside. But we were filming from behind. It was absolutely the most perfect move you've ever seen. It was ace.
Yeah, it was class. And you could see, you kind of double takes, what? But yeah, it was class.
So on the other side of the studio, then he was partially performing.
Yeah. Well, Christian was actually a massive hand for us because obviously we were commentating from the studio. So to get sort of what's happening in the garage and what's happening sort of trackside, I had a few trackside correspondents. I had yourself. Mark Smith-Halverson was over supporting David Shoebridge, who quick shout out. It was his first time doing World Endurance.
Yeah, well, he came and introduced himself to me because I see him in the results in BSB in the Ducati Cup, but I'd never met him before. So I stood on pit lane. He actually came and introduced himself. So then you keep an eye on what he's doing and did a stellar job.
Yeah, so something like 3 hours into the race, they had a 3-man team. One of them crashed and hurt himself, so the other 2 had double stint. The rest of they did 19 hours. And David sent us a video message afterwards, and honestly, he just looked completely drained. But yeah, they did a mega job, lap times wise. Tell you who I was surprised at when I was looking at the entry list. I thought the Ducati team were going to be a lot better, with Forres and Chaz Davies.
Yeah,
I was expecting them to be matching the pace of the front guys, and a lot of the time they would be sort of 5-6 seconds a lap slower, which I was really surprised at.
Yeah, I mean the Ducati team. I'd been for a
yeah, perfect.
I'd been for a meeting with them pre-season because I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I nearly signed up for them. The only thing I wasn't quite ready at that moment to go full endurance, so I politely declined. But yeah, they've got a few issues in terms of they're pretty much one of the only. I think they are the only top team on Pirellis.
It's a Kawasaki team, but yeah, one of them. Mm-hmm.
Which Kawasaki is SRC on Pirellis as well?
Yes, one of the top teams was. I was keeping an eye on the tyre thing.
So that's one, and then the other thing that they really struggle with is fuel consumption.
Yes.
So they can do 5 or 6 laps less per stint, which is massive. So they're already probably 5 or 6, actually maybe more, maybe 8 pit stops more they have to do in a 24-hour period, which is a minute ago.
Yeah.
By the time you come in and out, the pit stops only take seconds, but you're basically out the race before you start.
And out of all the teams, the factory BMW team seemed to have something up the sleeve with the pit stops, didn't they? They were getting an extra lap or two, pretty much every stint.
Yeah.
Which and they were all the main teams seemed to have some issues. They were the only ones that sort of just kept out of trouble and just sort of plugged away. And obviously they got rewarded in the end. But I don't know if you caught. And before the commentating on it, I've never really been that sort of into World Endurance, so I had to do quite a bit of reading up on all the teams and all that sort of stuff. But I absolutely loved it. It was a brilliant race. I don't know if I was just lucky and it just happened to be a brilliant race, or whether it's always like that. But it was just action. Every sort of stint that I did, it was action packed. Obviously, your team had that gearbox problem, which to get fixed in 26 minutes was ridiculous. And then Greg Black absolutely annihilated the bike, rode it back with I don't know if you've seen, but the clocks were smashing off the front wheel, handlebar was down there, rode it back to the pits, got it fixed, and then ended up losing out on the podium by half a second or a second or something in the end.
Just a quick rundown on what happened to the CERT team. So it was a lot did happen in that race. Like you said, endurance racing is kind of a weird one because it's kind of hard to follow if you don't follow it quite intensely. Because it's hard to know who's on the bike and who's quick in which team and who isn't, and certain things like that. So basically we were winning, or not we, but I can say we. Yeah, we were winning. Totally part of that. I was winning. I was winning until Sylvan broke a gearbox. And then, so that was about 10, 11 p.m, whatever it was, broke a gear off the gearbox. So I've never seen anything so quick in terms of something like that, imagine everything's piping hot. They come in, pull the cassette gearbox out. Not only do they fix the gearbox.
Are the Gixxers cassette gearboxes?
That one is.
Well, it wants to be. I was about to say, because normally it's only the ZX10s that are normally.
Yeah, so pulled it out. But then the other impressive thing is obviously they're also found the bit that fell out, because the missing bit is the bit that's going to end the race, really.
Yeah.
The broken tooth, you can probably just not use that gear, but the bit inside is going to...
It's going to rattle around and jam.
It's going to rattle around and jam. So they found that, sent them out. Job's a dream. 25 minutes was lost. But then you think you're out the race, but then the race is so long that you're not out the race. Then Yart had a problem, didn't they? They blew up in the end.
Yeah.
BMW were the ones that were basically weighing off in the distance. FCC TSR had a similar issues type of it. Not similar, but similar time loss to us. I think Gino snapped a chain
and push it back.
But was lucky because he broke a chain on the run back to start finish. So it was lost time, but didn't... Similar to what we lost. So we were neck and neck with TSR, but in about 8th or something like that. BMW away with it. But then what happened was the rain started falling. And the Bridgestone runners, which was TSR and CERT, were about 10 to 15 seconds a lap quicker per lap than those on Dunlops, the leaders. So there was every chance...
That much of a difference between the Dunlop.
So there's every chance that BMW was going to get overhauled.
They were consistently 10 seconds.
That's ridiculous. You could see it as if they were...
Have you tried the Bridgestone wet?
No. But it was visible, it was like they're on a different track, wasn't it, Chrissy?
Yeah.
You watch it and the Dunlop runners don't look like they're going slow, but they look like they're nervous for the conditions. The Bridgestone lads were just just unreal, unreal. So then you think, flipping heck, they've had two issues, CERT have, because then the crash happened. So Greg crashes, but basically everyone crashes when the rain came down. CERT were also lucky then because a safety car came out. So although we lost another 25 minutes getting back and getting fixed, because the safety car takes about 8.5 minutes to get round, they only lost 2.5 laps. So we were really lucky in that respect. Then it's a wet race, everyone carries on. And you think, there's still a chance, there's still 6 or 7 or 8 hours to go at 10 seconds a lap. 4 laps or 5 laps it's actually manageable. You can overcome that. But then they red flagged it. So that's when it just became basically a sprint race. So what they did is they sent them out behind the safety car and then just decided to pull the safety car in. I think pretty much all the teams were under the assumption, certainly ours was, that the race was going to finish behind the safety car. But what happened was the opposite, and 2 laps to go or 3 laps to go, the safety car pulled in and it was basically do what you want. No one was trying to do anything other than finish, apart from Gino on the TSR bike and Zav, who was on our bike, because they were battling for third. I was also really confused because I thought it was going to go off like an aggregate. So we were in third by 25 seconds with a gap over TSR. So when them two started battling, I was like, flipping heck, I know them two, I know Zav isn't that keen on Gino. So I thought, that's a lot of effort to just put one up on someone. And then everyone was cheering. You can hear the garage down the other end cheering when Gino passed him. I thought, oh, actually, this is for position. And it was probably one of the most dangerous things I've seen because everyone else in the race was going like half speed because all they wanted to do was literally just finish after 24 hours. It was piss wet through and horrible, wasn't it? You know, like everyone was teeter-totting around on a track that's just had a load of oil dumped on it, you know, so no one knows how fast to go except for two guys who are going absolutely full bore. So it was unreal, wasn't it? Like, what a class finish.
There's Christian with his helmet going, I'll go out, I'll go out, I'll go out, I'll go out, give me a lap.
I was ready to collect me bonus money.
Put me out there, put me out. Take me off the bench, coach.
It was amazing. It was cool. It was really cool.
The annoying thing as well is in the first hour, or after the first hour, I think it is, if one of the cert riders crashed and they dropped to a 2-man team, even though Christian's there and his leather's ready to go, once the race has started, I think it's an hour,
you're out.
The fourth rider can't join in whatever happens. Even if they all spanned themselves, they would have to pull out the race. Christian wouldn't be allowed out. So
all week as fourth rider, so I'd got this like team plan. So there's team meetings, like 2 or 3 team meetings every day, plus your sessions. I was there for like from the first minute of every session until the last minute of every session. Didn't really get used. Every team meeting, I was the only one like there on time. Like sometimes I was the only one there. You know, like some of them didn't actually happen. I was the only one there, and then I knew for the for the race I wasn't going to get used because by the time qualifying's up and no one's spanned, then we're good. So I spoke to the team. I was like, right, do I need to be there for morning warm-up? Because I'd booked I was in my hotel and had a pool. I thought, well, I've been here all week. I might as well make use of the pool. So they went, no, you don't need to be here for warm-up. So I thought, mint, the race starts at 1. I'll turn up at 11, blah, blah, blah. Because even if I turn up at 11 and someone spanners in warm-up, I'm ready to go. So I went for a run in the morning, had a morning in the pool, and I got there and like, oh, where were you? I was like, what do you mean, where was I? And I thought, flipping heck, I've missed a session. I wasn't. But I'd missed the team photo. Like, there's a photo with every single person, like even the pot washer and his mate is on this team photo, apart from me. Like, I'd been at every moment for the last week, like absolutely on hand, ready to go.
And your moment
apart from the one thing they wanted me for, I wasn't there. So. And then I felt terrible because almost everyone in the team was like separately. We're like, oh, where were you this morning? I was like, for fuck's sake.
To be fair though, like, in terms of like jobs, it's not a bad gig, really, is it? Like to go out.
No, it's not, but it is horrendous.
There'll be people listening to this that are like working flat out on a building site or driving along.
Going, what's he on about?
Oh, my heart bleeds for Christian. He went all that way, staying in a top hotel, watching the bike race, and he only got 10 laps.
Flicking through Instagram, going unfollow. Bell end click.
So that was my Spa experience. So I've got the Boldor coming up as well. So I've got a similar experience coming. So it should be all right.
So on Bike Sport News, there's going to be a kicked-in Suzuki rider somewhere in the car park.
Well, actually, because they've got Suzuka coming up in between, and their normal fourth riders, Kazuki Watanabe. But I think because it's
well done for pronouncing that. I don't even know if you did that right, but well done. It was good. Right. That was really good.
But he's riding. So, but I think that's because he's like the Jap in Japan, and he will go fast as. So, and they're giving him a run out.
Class. Good stuff, man.
I look forward to that. Right, we'll get
go back to the spider diagram because you've had a good time.
Yeah, we'll just start.
That was the intro, by the way. People.
Yeah, that's it.
I will just say it was like my first time doing the any work like that, the commentating work, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was broken up into like 3-hour stints, so I did like the first 2 hours of the race, and then had like 6 or 7 hours off, back for another 3, and then back.
Is that your first commentary experience?
Yes. Well, I've been at BSB. I've been like for the Superstock shootout race. I once did a thing with Jack Bernicle, but it was that like a proper. It was the first time doing something like that. And,
I wasn't going to grass him up, but he did say to me, "He said, Dominic, I got it easy." And every time I went in the studio, something happened. It was mint.
Well, I was really lucky because I did the first stint of the race, which was just like a shorter.
The first stint, by the way, because I went and stood in the grandstand, and honestly, I've not seen a race like it. And the crowd were going nuts because there was like the top 5. I think top 5 teams were really close, and I think because. So one, it's really important for TV time. The teams really like to be at the front and lead. Like the first hour is really important. So they do go hard. But also I think because in endurance, you knock it off by 0.5%. It's not a lot, but it's slightly off absolute max. More passing goes on, because if someone drops a bit out of the group, they can pretty much make it back up. And, you know, like the brake zones are a bit longer because you're braking it's not a lot earlier, but, you know, it's enough for someone to have a go. Yeah. So the passing in that first hour was unreal, wasn't it? You know, and the crowd were going mental. So I was sat in the grandstand at Eau Rouge with my uncle who'd ridden out, and it was just mega, like absolutely brilliant racing.
And I was joined by Tom Gamewell, the other commentator, and really enjoyed kind of working with him. And like I said, the first stint was amazing. Second stint was on the evening. I can't remember what happened there, but it was something massive happened, and it was like easy. It was like a good bit to commentate on. And then as soon as I got in the morning was when the rain came. So like literally as I got there, it all kicked off. Yacht's bike blew up, and then it started raining, and everyone started crashing. So it was like action packed. So yeah, really proper enjoyed it. The only thing that I found was, and I guess this is where the skill that you have to learn as a commentator, and which I think will take some practice, is the multitasking. So like as you're speaking and the people back in France are talking to you on the headphone. So
crazy.
It would be like now we're having a conversation, but then just at random points people are talking to you, but you're like halfway through what you're saying, and then they'll say like French and German commentators going for a break in 10, 9, and you're still trying to speak, and that's quite difficult, because the first few times it happened, it like freaked us out a bit, and it's But
it is really hard to have someone in your ear, you know, like when I did...
You've done the studio work.
I've done the studio work, and
he's been used to it for 2 years with me, so I don't know what he's whinging at.
Who's that whittering on?
That's it.
No, but having someone in your ear, it's like amazing. And when I went to do the studio work, they said they reduced the amount of stuff that was going to be in my ear set. But then during one of the things, they said, do you want to hear what Matt Roberts, who was the lead anchor bloke in that situation, do you want to hear what he hears? And it was just flat out noise, you know, like, so as he was doing his thing, they were going like a fresh break is actually where that program carries on, but at some point they're going to cut it in a after show, so he has to actually stop but then carry on. So they'll go into a fresh break in 1, 3, 2, 1, don't talk, and start again. But he's not started again, because actually on the live show, that's a continuation.
That was exactly the same for
it's just unreal. And then they've got saying, right, we've got an interview lined up with somebody. If you want to go to it, then say, you know, whatever, and then it's just unreal. It's a proper skill. It looks, when you watch it on TV and it looks easy, that's because it's such a skill.
Yeah. I tell you what, I've got to say thank you to Matt Roberts, and apologising for letting him down. My one opportunity to be on ITV TT, you went to interview me.
I saw it.
And I wasn't there.
I saw it. I was all excited.
I haven't watched a single bit of the ITV coverage, not a bit of it, but everyone has informed me that I missed my moment. So, Matt, if you're listening, my favourite little German stripper, I do apologise.
But like, it's hard doing a grid walk at the TT, innit, where most people either don't want to talk or aren't there, because a a lot of people turn up real late, don't they, just to be doing their own thing. And
to be fair, I think I saved his career, mate.
Yeah, he did them grid walks with no one on it.
I tell you what, you did a real good interview just before the twin race, and it was, do you know those moments where you're just listening? I was up at Craignabar at the time, and you came on the radio, and then you get like a sort of like hair standing up moment, but you did a Winston Churchill quote.
That was, I'll tell you what, William Hintz messaged us that quote. It was unreal.
So it was literally just before the race. Say what you said, because it was cool.
I'll tell you, like, it's bit like the counting team. I cannot thank them enough. They blew up like 5 ECUs. There was an electronic problem in it, and then like wiring loom, and then had to bastardize a 750 Z650, sorry, into like an ER6, and everyone, even Sugar Tits, was involved. Just stripping this thing. It took us like 2 days to get it fully done, and I was literally standing on Glencountry Road, Rutter's on his bike, his pattern ready to go, and Michael Dunlop's behind us, and I'm standing there with no bike. And they just came up and went, oh, what's going on? I said, look, if the bike turns up, it turns up. And they're like, oh, right, well, you seem awfully calm. I said, well, one of my friends told me, a fantastic quote was, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And honestly, like William Hintz, who's listening to this, Snip and Skid Mouth, he texted me that, before the TT, and it just welded into me head, you know what I mean? Because like, it's like leading up to this, I'm thinking, am I going to be able to, do it with my head and blah, 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 and all the story there. And it just welded in my head. And I just had a moment there. I feel like I was addressing the country. It's like, want to fight them on the beaches? fight them anywhere. And I was just like standing there. And I tell you what, Neil, right, this bike just wheeled up. I had no...
At that moment, was it perfect?
Shit, mate. It was something out of like a budget blockbuster. It was fantastic. It just wheeled straight in. It had no rev counter, no quick shifter. It had no temperature gauge, no nothing. It missed from the bottom, it missed at the top. It was like less than a standard map that was in the bike. And it was just all off here. And it was just bam, bam, bam. And it just would not want to pull. And you know what? If that bike didn't turn up on the grid at that exact point, I generally wouldn't have been upset. Because it's so easy to go, nothing's going right, we'll pack in. The accountants, if someone could generally pump money into the accountant, you can't buy what they've got.
Yeah.
It's grit. Right, there is daylight in the sky. We're going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the delays with the weather, that helped us. And the bike just wheeled in, and I went off down that road. It was just popping and banging. I went, I'm finishing this race. Even if I had to put it on my back and carry it over the line, I was finishing that race. And the finish in the top 10, when there's Dunlop's bike. It went that quick past me, it nearly took the paint off my bike. It was 20 mile an hour quick anything, and we're not here for that. And it was it just highlighted what the TT was, and you think, this is just keep going.
Not just a top 10 as well, top 8.
There you are.
Don't put yourself down.
Yeah, impressive job.
Very good. Right, let's go on to where we started with the shoulder injury. So you've got
croquet accent.
For anyone watching the YouTube, you've got a very colourful upper arm at the moment. Do you want to give a quick rundown of what happened and why?
Go on, Dom.
No. I just had a daft question, but let's talk about the rundown. I was just you actually highlighted that you don't really bruise.
No, I don't really bruise.
And so the fact that you're bruised, that says everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got a fair shiner on my bicep, so yeah.
For
Probably.
the lady followers.
Oh yeah, just a gun show. This one's fine.
There's a few more followers, and we've lost a few at the same time.
Wait to get my toes out.
I'll just tell you a quick story. I'll probably have to bleep the name out.
Here we go.
But when I was racing Super Teens years ago, so I would have been 13, 14. And my sister at the time was 17-ish, something like that. And I used to race with and
is that the name you're bleeping out?
Yeah, so it'd be you'd been about 13.
He didn't send the picture to the wrong phone, did he? Is that what
he never ever used to come and see me in the motorhome. We're sort of peers, but we weren't close mates type of thing. As soon as my sister started coming to the racing, he would be hanging about all the time and stuff. And anyway, he came over and he was obviously just fancied my sister and was just doing his best. And with a dead, do you know what? He's quite a sort of straight character anyway, isn't he? And just with a dead straight face, 13-year-old, he said to me, sister, I got arrested the other day. And my sister said, what? What happened? He said, I didn't have a license for me guns. Oh shit, that was a true story. I remember my sister coming back in just crying.
The worst thing is, I know he listens to the pod. I'm over the moon.
So even though you bleep it out, he's going to know, right?
He'll be the only person.
There's only going to be one. There was Grace.
Oh yeah, pretty safe. But yeah,
But did it work?
Well, I presume not. But...
Right, yeah. But she'll be watching this. Grace will be on the other side of the screen now, just shaking her head, going, no, it did not.
No, this was Katie.
Katie?
Obviously older,
right.
Yeah. Well, when I was 13...
Of course, Grace
sorry,
was sorry.
3.
There you go. Oh, God, yeah.
He wasn't trying to pull a 3-year-old.
Yeah. You never know in the BSB.
Right, go on. So,
anywho, yeah, so what happened to your son? What happened to you here?
Yeah, probably the most crazy accident I've ever been involved in. So it was a sighting that didn't even make it to the grid. So Knockhill race weekend. For coming to the grid for the first race, I ran into Josh Owens is the long and short of it. It's hard to say anything other than...
Oh, so you ran into... Oh, right.
Yeah. Bless him. I mean, he came to the garage to apologise. I wasn't there, and I think he got told to leave in no uncertain terms. But I don't think everyone really understood quite what had gone on at that moment. So citing that, it's just the point where you come to the grid and then you sit on the grid and do all your 15 minutes of TV time or whatever. Then you do 2 sight laps and race.
Yeah.
So it's literally just get to the grid. That's all you have to do. I didn't even manage it. So as I came into the hairpin, Knockhill hairpin, Josh was there. I fully knew he was there. Everything was hunky-dory. I usually do quite a fast sighting lap. Not race speed, but quite fast. And I was doing quite a fast sighting lap. As I came into the brake zone, he was there. That's fine. He was on the racing line. That's fine too. As I got nearer to him, I sort of half realised he was going pretty slow. But I still thought it's okay, because my plan would be, if he continues to go slower, I'll just nip to the outside of him, especially when he tips in. Then as I got about 50 metres away from him, I was like, oh, fuck, he's going really slow.
Yeah, this is going wrong.
Yeah. So you've got the option of going to the inside, which is option one. The problem is if you do that and someone going slow tips in, then you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So I hung off that plan to start with, and I thought I'll just stay.
It makes it sound like an hour. Yeah,
it's all in a split second.
What's going through your head is incredible.
And then I thought, no, don't do that. He's going to tip in, but he just never did. Because I was going to run straight past. As he tipped in, I was going to run straight past and go straight on, sort of thing. And he just never did. So literally at the point that I got right to the back of him, and he never tipped in, I had to just try and dart to the inside, and didn't, and clipped him pretty hard. So he went down, I went down. Didn't think I knew I'd gone down pretty hard, like my airbag went off, but I didn't think I was overly injured. Managed to pick the bike up. The clip-on was off it. Josh gave me what the flip was that?
Yeah, because
usual thing, and I did it back to him, sort of thing. So
I was wondering, because what fit, like, from when I looked at the telly, because obviously you don't, and then you just suddenly look up and there's carnage everywhere. Yeah. And I just saw with a visor up, you looking at it, I'm thinking, my immediate reaction was generally it was his fault.
Most people do, and you know what? In a way, most people do in an unfair way to Josh, as in like it looks like he took me down.
From initial reaction of how it looked on the telly, it did look like that. To be fair, it did.
So for me, it was like a moment of disbelief. I was like, "It's a sighting lap. I've crashed. How is that even possible?" So I was proper panicking, because I can't lose points. I need to get to the grid and get sorted. I picked the bike up, and the right hand clip on was completely snapped off it. So then I knew I had to try and ride it back, but I couldn't get the dash to light up.
And with the holding that to your throttle as well.
Yeah, but don't forget, I'd just seen Greg Black do exactly the same as we spoke about just then before.
There we are, you see.
So I went full Greg Black on the job not long after. But I couldn't get the dash to light up, so I was looking all the way around the dash to see if there was like a master switch that had flicked off.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. So then I was like, "Where's the van?" Why won't they? But they wouldn't let the van out until pit lane was closed because it's a live track.
Yes,
which is another 5 minutes to wait, or 4.5, or 4 by the time I'd crashed and picked it up. So I was panicking like mad. I pressed the red button, which is like the main reset switch, and I just saw the Motec bit flash up, but then it went off again. Then I did it again, it went off and on. So then I realised like the red button wasn't staying down, so it wouldn't stay on. That was the problem.
Yeah.
So then I held it on and it lit up properly, like the dash actually came on and booted itself. I was like, oh, brilliant. Then I took my thumb off the red button and pressed the green button, but obviously by taking my thumb off the red button, it died again before I managed to press the green button. So I was like, oh, bollocks, I need to hold the red button in the whole time. So this is still on my throttle hand. So I'm like, right. I shouted the marshal, I went, press the green button. So I had to hold the red button and he pressed the green button and she fired up. So then finally, after what felt like an eternity, but I was able to start riding it back to the pits. But it was just tick over because you can't twist a throttle that's in thin air.
Yeah.
Whilst also trying to hold the red button down, because if I let go of that red button for even a split second, I won't be able to restart because I'll need another marshal to come and lend me a green button.
I tell you, so
I was trying to do all this
on
and
idle.
then I was like, it's taking forever because I was just chugging up the hill, which is only 300-400 meters, isn't it, to the entry of pit lane? It felt like forever. I was going dub 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 dub.
No, but the hills like that, and you're doing it on idle. That's a seriously.
It would go, but it just was slow.
Whoa, fair play.
So then I did channel my inner Greg Black, and I was like, I remember what he said about jamming it into the side of the bike. So I tried to jam the clip on into the side of the bike, and I finally managed to twist it, and it went all whiskey throttle. I went, nearly crashed going back to pit lane. So they got it back, and then the team fixed it real quick, and not it was absolutely bang on whether we were allowed out of pit lane or not. But I was in the garage waiting, and I knew there was something not right with my arm. I could just tell it wasn't really hurting a great deal, but I just knew.
Dull ache. No.
I tried to lift it. It was more the lack of movement in it. So I tried to lift it, and I was like, that doesn't want to go. So I lifted it up with my other arm and just rested it on the side of the toolbox, and it just sat there, and I was like, right, we'll be fine. And then I could see they were just about finished. So I dragged the bike out. I don't even think they weren't even finished with it. They were still trying to put some cable ties on something as I dragged it off them. Just made it out of pit lane. Managed to start the race, but I just had no power in my arm to brake. So as I was braking, I was squeezing the tank with the knees to try and be able to pull the brake with my fingers, but I just had no power in the arm shoulder area. Not really through pain. It just wanted to give way.
Because watching them warm up laps, when you actually got back on the circuit, I thought, man, he's looking tentative.
Yeah,
which is that explains why at the time.
But not through pain. It wasn't. I could have happily ridden with the level of pain it was. It just wasn't right. So in the end, I got not a bad start actually. Made about 5 or 6 places up, but then pegged my way backwards. And after 4 laps, I was last or second last, and it was just like, this is silly. Like, I'm not going to score any points. I'm just a danger to other people. It's not on. So I pulled in and then just walked to the med centre, and just not ideal. So I've broken the top of my humerus, not across. So that hence why I had.
Oh, so it's like your shoulder blade. It's your humerus.
Humerus. So yeah.
Oh, right.
So the reason because it's not across it, that's why I've got stability in the arm. That's why I could ride. So what's happened is at the top, it's like if you make a fist, it's like that lump area. So I basically took one corner off it.
Right.
So the reason that it's a problem for lifting my arm up is because it's right at the ligament attachment. So it's a bit like having your ligament not attached to the bone. So it's a bit like having that part not attached to your shoulder sort of thing. Hence why I'm struggling to lift my arm up. So hence why I had no strength. So yeah, it's now just
because you know what the paddock's like. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's broke his shoulder, broke his shoulder, broke his shoulder." It's it's humorous.
Yeah.
Now funny about
that.
It's
It's not humorous. Hold on.
Can I tell you something really disappointing? Do you know how Danny Kent, your teammate, must have had your leathers on for the weekend?
Yes.
Yeah. So I can't remember which race it was, but in the middle of the race, I'd totally forgot that you weren't riding, and I'd passed a couple of people, and I could just see the lightning on the back. I'm closing, and I'm thinking, "Fuck, bloody hell, I'm going to catch Christian here." And then I did like a lap behind, thinking it was you, and then I dived up I can't remember where I passed him, but I dived up the inside, and then finished the race, and obviously he hadn't passed us back, and I literally came back, and I was like, I've been Christian in that much of the mates. And then as I pulled in, I seen you walking up, and you'd been commentating. I was like, shit.
Have you lads ever flicked the bird at each other for a laugh?
Do you know what? I've actually this morning I've just watched Danilo Petrucci flick the bird, not for a laugh. At someone else I've been watching Moto
What's
America.
flick the bird?
Give the middle finger.
Top Gun.
Really?
Top Gun reference there.
You mean in a nice way or a
in a nice way? I'll tell you what, that's my proudest moment ever. Like, funny enough, Super Twin again, went out on that first night, but broke down at Union Mills. I rode the bike back, and then James Hillier was going for a flyer. I came out and coming out of Union Mills, and what I saw was James Hillier right next beside me. He didn't even make eye contact. He just went. He just flicked the bird, and I was just like.
Oh, you were laughing at me the other day because I flicked a leg out at you, didn't I?
Yeah, in FP2. So I can't remember who I was behind, but O'Halloran passed us coming over the start and finish straight, hit the brakes, and obviously Knockhill, I go back to second for turn 1. So I went third, second, broke hard, and literally as I was like tipping in almost to the curb,
I made a terrible move basically.
I just seen a Bill base front wheel come up, so I lifted up and kind of like folded right out to the curb on the other side, but like I was literally like that all the way down, and then once it passed, I got back in, and it was a class move, and then as we were going through turn 2, just the little leg of like the courtesy leg of cheers mate.
it was like a cheers, sorry, thanks. It was like everything rolled into one, just a little flick of the leg.
I tell you what, this is going to curse me for the rest of forever, this, without a doubt. You know what, one of my biggest pet peeves on a motorcycle, and you never see you lads do it because you're at the high end of what this country can deliver. You know when someone passes you in a race and then taps the tail unit?
Yeah.
And that's essentially saying, follow me. It's a race, son. That is the most pointless thing, and you know what I mean. Like TT lads don't do it, nothing like that. But I tell you,
Moto3 lads do it a lot because they upset each other's rhythm.
I was going to say, I tell you when I've used it is if in a race, if there's like somebody going away, and if we're like continuously overtaking someone, and both of us are losing the chance to get a higher position, and then that's the only time I'd use it.
No, but in the same breath though, they're trying to do the same as you. But that is a difficult one.
I can see it. So sometimes it's annoying because if someone taps the seat at you, you go, fuck off. You know,
you do, don't you? Because
I'm racing. You know, like, why would you tap the seat? But I have had it before where you race against lads who don't think about the long game.
Yes.
Like, they only think one corner in front of themselves. And that can be frustrating because if you know that once you get into a rhythm, you might be able to catch the group in front, then you and the guy that you're racing with will both benefit just by spending a bit of time. So I can see why sometimes someone will go, just, you know, tap the seat and go with.
It normally goes with someone with a faster bike, doesn't it? But someone
who's got more rhythm. It's the same. Like if someone who's got a lot of, if you watch Moto3 and say Foggia past almost anyone, you know, like that person, that almost anyone would always be better just to go, right, okay, I'm just going to sit on his wheel. Whereas every now and again you get someone who just like at the very next corner will dive back through, thinking literally for that next 100 meters, but not then thinking for the rest of the race. That's it's racecraft in a way.
It is,
but sometimes it's misused, and I think sometimes people do it as well to sort of
piss like for me
to upset the person they've passed, because it's almost like talking down to someone with a hand gesture, you know, like as in I'm faster than you, just follow me, stop being an idiot.
Someone I couldn't stand, honestly, I couldn't stand him, you know what I mean? But he did it, he just did it to piss us off, and I thought, you do that one more time, I'm going to take your arm off and beat you to death with it. And I went up to him after, I said, you ever do that again? But I beat him in every race, and no, he never ever did it again. And
But do you not now tap the seat every time you pass in?
I tell you what, no, honestly, not a single person I do it. Not a single person I do it to. You'll never see me doing it.
I can't remember if you tapped the seat, but there's been a couple of times this year where I know you've purposely like helped us out by like maybe you would have like pulled into the pits, but you've seen I'm behind you and you've done like a lap to like help us. But like I know if you tapped then I'd be like I'd be chuffed to be like.
Now to be fair,
for that I would be like, as in like I'm going to continue to do a lap at least, as in so you know I'm not going to roll off. So then it's like, come on, let's try and do something.
But to be fair, I'm like in a race scenario, it's the tap thing. But I totally agree with you. Like it's a respect thing. I totally agree. So put it bluntly, if I'm ever on a track with you, Christian, and you took the tap like you just said there, come in front of me and tap the tail unit, I'll be like, this is outstanding. But you know what my point is. You know what I mean?
100%.
It's you just think and he did it to fuck me off, and you know what? It worked, and I went and told him like.
So in terms of injury wise, there's going to be no surgery at the moment. You're just going to try and naturally heal before brands, and just hopefully it'll be okay by then, sort of thing.
Yeah, I drove down to Manchester the other day to see a surgeon that I see not regularly because that makes it sound bad, but you know, like to see a guy that I see when I normally get hurt. And he said, if you want to ride tomorrow, then we'll put a screw in it, but it'll be detrimental for anything over 2 weeks. So the plan is to try not to do anything stupid for the next 2 weeks, as long as that.
So you're motocrossing tomorrow? Are you like you normally like to do like trials riding? Scuba diving?
Kyle Ride messaged me on Wednesday going, "Oh, Iron works tomorrow." I said, "Mate, I can't even brush my teeth. I don't think I'm going to do that." So yeah, it's the worry for it is, which is one, like I don't really need it in a sling. Like to be honest with you, this is mainly for show. But it's not for show, but it's mainly to make me
that out, Chrissy.
to make me remember not to do something stupid. It's to protect you, yourself from yourself, sort of thing. So
right-handed as well.
Yeah. So the difficulty of the injury is because it's where it's the attachment point. Obviously, it's almost always wanting to move.
Yeah.
So it's trying to immobilize that and. Yeah,
it is weird how, like, do you know if you were like an alien looking at human beings, the fact we've got two identical arms and legs, yet one of them's really good at everything, and the other, like, you injure this one, and then you couldn't hardly do anything with the other one. You're like, it's exactly the same.
I know, you try and wipe your butt with your left hand, it just smears everywhere, doesn't it? It's horrendous.
Well, yeah, very odd. Right.
When's the last time you tried to chuck something with your left hand? It's so special, isn't it? You know, you can throw something with your right hand, but then
Here's the thing. Have you ever tried to, just out of interest, have you ever tried to
break with your left foot?
With your left foot?
Impossible.
I do it all the time. I've broken my right, like me, my right foot and stuff like that. But go
So
kart.
have you learnt how to now?
Yeah.
For anybody that has never tried this, don't do it around
With a
other
car
cars.
behind you,
Yeah, don't
'cause
do it with a
it'll
car
stop.
behind you. But you'll think with your left foot, you'll tap the brake and it'll just like slam the brakes
That's
on.
why I do
Unreal.
it. But like you say, you can't do it while shifting gear because you need to transfer it over for the clutch. But in a go kart, totally
That's
different,
true.
isn't it? You don't ever
I
think
don't
that.
know why.
But-
you try and do it in a car, you just basically slam the brake. You can't do anything but
You
slam the
can't.
brakes.
You got
on.
no
Yeah.
finesse in it, have
Nah.
you, whatsoever? But in a go kart, it's because you're quite aggressive off and on. But even so, when the race goes on, you can get quite smooth with the whole job, innit? It's
But
ambidextrous feet.
So yeah, I'll be fixed for brands, so we're good.
brilliant, excellent.
Sweet. Tap and tail units all around the track.
That's the one. We'll give it. So overall, Knockhill. The
I tell you what, you think you had it. Oh, fuck, my giddy aunt, it was a rough weekend for everyone, wasn't it? He had to drag me out me cot to go help him out for the weekend. didn't we, son?
Yeah, so for FP1, I went for a sneaky wee because we had a wet free practice 1-1 and I wasn't that keen on
Soaking.
going out.
Yeah.
So I went to the toilet and then I seen Chris, he wasn't going out at all. And yeah, he told me the plight that you'd had the week on the run up. So come on, boy.
Yeah, I've had so it's been a very stressful and difficult weekend, to be honest. So just in the run up, I was going to be leaving for Knockhill on the Wednesday, and unfortunately on the Tuesday, I had an email from a sponsor that like a good sponsor and someone that's part of the team as well, not just a sponsor, like a big part of the team. And unfortunately, they pulled out of the year, which was obviously like a massive blow to us all. Financially, and also the fact that he was like he used to do a lot of kind of behind the scenes work with the team. And to add another complication as well, the sponsor owns half the race truck, which is where all the stuff's kept. So
Well, what size was that truck? It was like an 18-tonner, wasn't it? So
18
you're thinking
tonner,
about, garage board and everything like that.
yeah,
It's a lot of gear,
we've
innit?
got like I think we've got about 3 ton of equipment that would take race, and
That's just his wallet, that.
you can put it all in the back of this truck. So yeah, basically I've managed lots of people that helped us out. My dad took the Wednesday off work, and I rang round a load of people that I knew who had vans and tried to basically try and scramble as many vans as I could and drivers.
Is this Wednesday?
Collect the stuff, yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I drove down. It was actually one of the Bill-based sponsors. One of the vans I borrowed, Dick Mountain, down at it's Mountain Motor Vehicles down
Dick
in
Mountain.
yeah, down in
That is...
near Cadwell, basically Lincolnshire. Picked up this van, and the reason why it was such a good van to use was because it's got a tail lift, and obviously with all the garage board and stuff, it would have been perfect. We drove it like maybe 20 minutes, and unfortunately turned the ignition off, and the ignition carried on running. So I stalled it, and basically it couldn't get it back working, so that had to be recovered. So then I rang Phil Crow and said, mate, like, are you using your van over the weekend? No. I said, can I please come and borrow it? So I drove over, got Phil's van, then we drove over to Bradford and got my mate Lundy, he lent us his van. So basically bigs like sprinters and crafters and things like that. And then somebody else from the team, Stan, he's got another big sprinter. So basically we managed to get as much stuff as we could from the truck into vans. All the stuff was sort of needed. And yeah, obviously lots of sort of stress before the weekend. Managed to get the bike sort of midday on the Thursday, and then drive straight up and get everything set up. And like I say, sort of roped in Dominic to drive. So as well as them 3 big vans as well, I took my van with the trailer, everything all packed in, like random stuff. And yeah, Dom came and sort of volunteered for the weekend, which was a massive hand, as well as the rest of
I was
my
walking
team.
around like a shit myself because I could barely walk. It's funny as fuck.
Yeah. And so yeah, my dad and Stan got up on the Thursday morning, got everything set up, and we got up there like midnight on the Thursday, and the night before I was away on the road. I couldn't get a hotel anywhere, so I ended up sleeping in the back of a van with no bedding. So like basically didn't sleep the night before. So yeah, it was like such a stressful build up, but it honestly felt like just to get there on Friday morning and to have the bike in the garage with all the team there and like ready for. I didn't go out in FP1 because it was wet, but to have everything there and things, it honestly felt like just a victory just to be there. So yeah, I was like really chuffed. And obviously the other end of the weekend as well. So once we packed everything away, got home to then unpack everything, had my physio, SJ, came over and helped. Obviously Dom was there, Stan, my dad, got everything unloaded. And then we had a problem with, we've got all these vans all around the country. So then on Monday I had to, my dad, bless him, didn't get, we got packed away for like 1 a.m, then back up at 5:30. My dad went to work for the day, and then when he got in at like 5 p.m. at night, I said, I'm really sorry to ask you this, but can you please drive a van down to Lincolnshire for us? So we got down there for about like 9-10 p.m, and then I then had to go to work in Coventry. Speaking to my dad, he didn't get back till like I think it was 2:30 that morning, and then up again for like 6 to go to work. So I played like a sort of small part in the whole thing of to getting there, but the amount of help that I had from like loads of people, it was really, really sort of humbling. And I was like very, very, very grateful for all the help. Another sort of complication, and it'll affected loads of people from BSB as well. One of the flights that from Edinburgh to Gatwick or to Heathrow was cancelled at like 10 p.m. on the night. So one of my mechanics, Kai, got to Edinburgh to get home for work the next day, and there was basically a full plane load of BSB like riders and mechanics that couldn't get home, so they had to hire cars, and he didn't get back till 4:30 on Monday morning. So shout out to all them people. But yeah, it's just one of them things. Like I think racing in general, are like people who go racing, they're like a very sort of resilient group of people,
bunch of idiots,
and do you know when it's not
race
like
at all costs.
Do you know if you had to like describe the job description of being in a race team to someone, people would think like them hours, and it doesn't really like sound. But when you're passionate about something and love something, you just kind of do anything to make it work.
You know, my favourite thing about this podcast is we're just two polar opposites here, isn't it? We described the struggles of it, and then Christian's struggle was getting his hair cut and having a walk around Belgium. You know what I mean? Like, I was getting paid to sit there and smoke cigarettes, and like Christian's like, oh Jesus.
In all fairness, like, it was
yin and yang, kids.
On track. It was like for myself. It was a reasonable weekend. Finished all 3 races, which was a good start. We didn't test at Knockhill because the whole team was over in the Isle of Man when the test was on. So sort of FP2 was the first kind of run out in the dry. Sort of improved the bike. I've had Mark, Hannah and Simon, my electronics guy, who sort of improved the bike quite a bit over the weekend.
He's a nice lad, that Mark Hannah.
Oh, he's absolutely sound, yeah. And Simon. You made it sound like
just one of them.
And Simon, give me a break.
But yeah, we've got first race, just kind of we actually had a bit of the bike that was came unloose, so I sort of rode round a problem and just finished the race, that one. Second race, so the first one on
strong.
Sunday it was decent. So I was on the back of Sykes for like most of the race. Taz, obviously after the big crash he had, started from the back, and he passed us like sort of later on into the race, and then as soon as he passed Sykes, he kind of took Sykes with him a little bit, and sort of ended up a little bit in no man's land, like 2 seconds in front, 2 seconds behind, but a strong 12th. To be honest, that was massively the highlight of the weekend, coming back into the garage. Everyone was so chuffed to bits with that, and I was really pleased with it. And
in the 47s,
dipped in the 47s as well, which is I was happy enough with that. And then the last race on Sunday wasn't very good, but is what it is. Overall, decent weekend, and like I said, for all of that, when I was thinking about all the effort and all the miles and stuff for like 4 points, it's like you think, is it really worth it? But for me, it is, and I think kind of this whole season, to be honest, is like a massive sense of like a purpose. Sort of, I like feel so motivated, and so like we've got this like huge task. It's almost like an impossible task, but the fact that we're all working towards something and like have something to go at. And obviously there's so many people behind the scenes that help. Obviously there's the team, which is pretty big in itself, but then I've run that like the supporters wall. So there's like loads of people that help us out with there, and obviously all my sponsors and stuff. So it's, when we do get good results, it like really means the world to us. So yeah. I'm enjoying.
I mean, you say just 4 points, but it's like not to be sniffed at, and everyone's got their own goals, haven't you? Like everyone in any kind of racing. That
Well, my goal
to be fair for you, just for you to have got out in not in FP1 because you didn't want to do it, but just for you to have turned up was the first big win.
Yep.
Never mind the concept of or the thought process of actually scoring points. You know, like it's everyone's got their own, like, what they want to achieve, don't they, each weekend? So that was, I commentated on that middle race, and it was impressive. It showed you on the telly box, and it was, good to see you riding. And like, you've just done that, and you're doing all that, and you're sat behind an ex-world champion. You're like on an official bike, and there's you who's flipping not slept for 2 nights, turned up in 12
on a stock engine,
on a bike that's you've got great people behind it, but you've not got full-time people behind it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's impressive.
I know what you're saying. But so all in all, and we've got a decent break now till...
So you're both over... You two are the only BSB people that are over the moon for the break. Everyone else is chomping at the bit. You're like, I need 10 minutes, and you're like, can we stretch it just a little bit? But no, it's good that you're both ready to go for the next one, though. We're looking forward to seeing that, mind.
Yeah, that's it. And obviously it gives us a good time to... I haven't been off the phone as soon as I finish work on a night time. I've just been on the phone and on my emails and stuff, trying to get things sorted and get all ready for next year.
And is that going to leave you in a difficult situation for the rest of the year, or have other people stepped up? Or
do you need people? I'm going to say it for you. I think if there's anyone out there listening to this now who wants to help out Chrissy, for God's sake, please get in touch.
It's one of them things where obviously we have got some sort of the branding that the sponsor had is that now up for grabs, if you like. So I guess my job before the next round is obviously I'm trying to replace the lost amount of sponsorship money. So, but yeah, it's one of them things. It's
and while we're getting on the harpstrings, if anyone's got a front end for a BM, that'd be. That would be really appreciated if someone could get me a front end for my BM. But anyway, continue. Anything you want? Is there anything you want, young man?
No, I think I'm all right.
Good man. Just on that, obviously you're talking about your crash from the TT. What exactly what damage have you done?
God, no. The list is growing rather than shrinking, put it that way. So no, it's like everything, I can get a few things straightened out, but I don't, I don't want to, I'd rather do the job properly, get it fully rebuilt, so the forks, both stanchions are bent, and the frame itself is all right, which is great news. It's unfortunately when it's when I've clipped the wall in my arm, it's dragged the front end down, so the bike's gone in forward. So the wheel itself is fine. So the front subframe's gone, electronics are smashed, and then it's just the front end of the bike is just taking the blow. So it's the yokes that are bent, the forks that are bent. So unfortunately, I spent last night with a bottle of wine crying into a laptop, looking at motorcycle parts. I'm like, oh Jesus, wept. But no, I'm going to fix it, get it up and going properly, because basically, if I don't get me full factory ride next year, I've got a bike there. That's my plan.
Kenny. And going on.
Very optimistic first plan there. So
and the injury's going to fix as well.
Yeah, but no, like you said, mine's nowhere near as bad as that. Far from it. And it's only I've got fractures. You know what I mean? Rather than proper.
No, that's all. I don't even know. I don't know what the difference between a break and a fracture. Is it not the same?
It's got to be in the dictionary. That
must be.
Got to be in the dictionary. But all of mine, there's no surgical intervention needed at all with mine. If you know what I mean. No, but you could. You know what I mean. So if you want to get back on a bike,
you hit a wall. I only hit a Josh Owens.
I'm going to call him Glenn from now on. They are Glenn Ellie. All right, son. That's class.
Hitting a wall is pretty big,
It's just, just want to, but I'm just thinking about my poor bike. But everything fixes. Unfortunately, I'm out of work at the moment because putting on a harness, and I tried firing up a chainsaw the other day, and I tell you what, it was just when you have one of them inside screams. You just stop where you are, and I just put the saw down and just sat down why did I try that? So currently this is my full-time profession at the moment. Just podcasting on a Saturday with Christian Iddon.
Any updates on your eye? Are you getting surgery for that?
Yeah, so basically I need the surgery on my eye. Unfortunately, I'm absolutely devastated because I'm going to have to miss the Southern 100, and I'm going to have to miss Armoy road races. I absolutely love the pair of them, and Armoy in particular this year because I'm leading the Irish Supersport Road Racing Championship, and unfortunately the last round's at Armoy. So bugger, it's just one of those things. But Scarbados is apparently going to be making a return. There's no official statement on that. Classic TET we should make them get there for, but depending on the eye surgery as well. So, and unfortunately, I've just seen Chrissy click onto the Bennett's website there. I'm still going to go down to the track day at Cadwell Park on Wednesday the
27th.
So I'm going to still go down there and talk shite and bore everyone there. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to be out of action for a bit. So there's plenty of time in my life to work. You know, I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? Once I'm fixed, I can go back to work. But I'm struggling with the pennies at the moment. But these things happen, man. These things happen.
And
I tell you, sorry, what?
I was just going to talk about Knockhill, but go on.
Knockhill. I was actually going to bring up the other point of Knockhill. Rory Skinner. Was that what your point was?
I was just going to talk about BSB in general, but we'll start with that, yeah. So obviously Skinner had a good weekend and he's just been rewarded with, is it two wild cards?
Two wild cards in
Oh, it's two?
Yeah. So he's doing Silverstone and Austria, but I think, slightly unfortunately, I think Silverstone comes first.
Yes.
Why, unfortunately?
Well, just because it'd be lovely
The home
to
round.
ride the track you know. I don't think he'll know Austria very well. I'm sure he'll know Silverstone better.
Yeah.
So that's all I mean. So, you know, like if you can almost have a warm-up round and then... Because those guys are so fast, like no matter how good Rory is, it's never going to be easy just to jump in onto a completely different type of bike, on completely different tyres. So it just would have been nice if Silverstone was second one. But regardless, it's unreal. I mean, he's... I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's managed by John Hopkins and the American racing team anyway.
He is, yeah.
So that's where this whole connection comes through.
Which is brilliant, you know, to have that kind of connection, because he was on the telly saying, like, you know, about he's the next, like, British hope, and
yeah,
you know, that's what this country needs, man. We need people like that pushing, which is outstanding.
Yeah, it's great. It's great that he's getting an opportunity, and if you go off other sort of British wildcards that we've had, obviously Jake had a wildcard a few years ago at Silverstone, and Taz both, and to go into a championship so competitive on a bike that you're not familiar with, if you're not last, if you're anything other than last, you're doing a very
really
good
well,
job.
yeah.
It's so in terms of expectations, you know, as much as I rate Rory, and I really hope that things go well, if it's a bit wet, I think that gives him a great chance to shine. But
I hope it
whatever,
pisses down the...
But that's the hard thing, because looking from the outside, like he'll go in and unless something incredibly incredible happens, he is going to be near the back, and then those that aren't really in the know go, oh, he's shite, you know, but it's not the case, you know. These things do not happen like at the flick of a switch or overnight, you know. But I think it's not too bad, because those in the know, those that need to know that. So like he's obviously been watched over quite closely from people that are important. So
saying that, if you remember, Fraser Rogers had a go just over a year ago at Portimao and wasn't last. He was fit.
It actually went really well.
Yeah.
He'd hardly done any riding before that.
Exactly, and amazingly, Fraser's actually been sat out the whole season. So like this, I remember the beginning of the years, man put a thing on Facebook saying like this time last year he was on the grid with, and like named like the top Moto2 riders, and like like holding his own, like you would say. And then this year he's not had any bike action whatsoever, so he's like still sat on the sideline. I think he's one of those riders that's obviously good enough to fit into any sort of team in any championship in the UK, but there just isn't an opportunity at the moment.
But it's just really cool to see
another person
go through. So that is cool. I mean, BSB this year's just been... I remember doing you will have done it as well, the like you had to do your predictions for who's going to get into the showdown, and I think from what I can remember on mine, I think I'm quite a long way out, because it's just, there's riders that are just not performing, there's riders that are overperforming.
I had a strong prediction and my outside bet's doing amazing, my strong prediction's doing terrible. If you remember rightly, I said my strong prediction was Leon Haslam.
Yeah.
Which, can you remember? And I said my outside bet that I think for the championship is Bradley Ray. Yeah. Bradley Ray's leading and Haslam. So like I'm glad that I'm not a gambling person, because I would have I'd be massively losing at the moment.
I tell you what, it's good to see Jason back on a rhythm.
Yeah, Jason's doing well.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's
usually doesn't do very well at Knockhill as well, so to do the double there is very impressive. I think they upgraded the bike quite a lot at the beginning of the season, and maybe taking a little bit of time to get on top of it. But yeah, the people that are like doing outstanding at the moment are Bradley Ray, Lee Jackson, and Jason's just starting to come up and join them. Kyle Ride's having a strong start of the season, so both OMG bikes. Lee and Skinner doing really well. The people that I'm really surprised at, are Sykes and Haslam.
Yeah, I think everyone is, including themselves.
Yeah.
But it just shows the level of BSB. Haslam, I'm confused at, because he's not that long away from being BSB champion, so he knows the bikes, the electronics, the tracks. Tom, it was always going to be a bit more of an uphill battle, I think, just because it's more going against him. He spent a longer time away from these tracks and our bikes, but I'm still surprised he hasn't it hasn't clicked with him just yet.
Yeah.
Every now and again he puts a lap in that's pretty quick, but it's only ever real early on with a fresh tyre, and then his rhythm goes away quickly. So yeah, those two, I think they were pretty much on everyone's list of who will probably go in the showdown, regardless of what we thought anyway, just because of the experience that they've got and the teams that they're with, and I think they're both a big surprise.
Yeah. Perfect time. I put a thing on our Patreon page asking for questions, and I got this one sent in. I had a little listen of it just before the show started, but it'll sort of fit in well. So this is Julian, and hopefully the
Morning, gentlemen. Hope you're keeping well. Hope that Dom and Christian are mended from their recent escapades. I'd just like to say I've very much enjoyed Christian and Chris's recent commentary work. I'm sure which of you's got the best face for radio, but time will tell. I have a question for Christian regarding the PBM Ducatis. I guess outside of the team themselves, he's best placed to comment on the bike. Josh Brooks recently said that the bike had improved, but the rest of the field had moved ahead of them. I was wondering what Christian's thoughts were on that, especially given that he was quicker than Josh all of last year.
I really like him.
Do you think that they're failing to unlock the performance of the bike? And I was wondering if you noticed anything on track when battling with them, which sort of give an indicator of where they are. Cheers.
Good question.
Cheers,
Question.
Julian.
I liked him till the end, until when I've been battling. I mean, I've been so far ahead of them, it's unfair. I've not even seen them. No, so no. Basically, you sort of hit the nail on the head. Apart from, I've heard that comment from Josh that they've improved the bike, but everyone's moved on. I don't know what they've done to improve the bike, because from my understanding, they've got nothing fresh anyway. So if they have improved the bike, it's only setting, not like some part. But yeah, this year the at every track, Knockhill was a slight exception, although race 2, as in race 1 on Sunday, did go crazy fast. But every round so far, the pace has moved forward quite substantially, given that actually no bikes really, apart from I think O'Halloran, like you said, the McCann's bikes, O'Halloran and Mackenzie have had some slight upgrade. But more or less all the bikes are the same. Like the Kawasaki's the same, like the OMG Yams are the bikes from the year before. The Suzuki's are the same. I know we've got nothing that they didn't have the year before. So the Ducatis, from absolutely all my understanding, is they've got no extra parts. So everything's the same. So it's really strange that at certain tracks we're going half a second a lap quicker on average, which is massive. Like
in this game, it's massive.
Well, you bust a ball for 1/10 of a second, so half a second every lap is just, it's mind blowing. So yeah, the pace has moved forward, and I do think that actually from what Josh was doing compared to last year, he's moved forward as well from his lap times. But it's as if the goalposts have moved quite a lot, and I can't put my finger on what that is. So normally you would say the tyres are different, because that's the only difference. Sometimes you get it that a track rides quicker on a weekend and not on another weekend, but four on the bounce is strange.
There's something hidden there.
There's something hidden. So my only thought process that it can possibly be is that although the tyres are not different, they might have changed the process in which they make them, and something has changed, because
you reckon it's really down to the tyre?
It's the only thing that touches the ground.
Yeah.
You can.
They are.
It's strange that every single bike on the grid is going faster. Every single rider on the grid is going faster than they did before.
Grip.
That doesn't just happen, other than if you put an outside factor into it. So I actually think that the percentage change is the same for everyone, more or less. So
just from my take from being on track, the only thing that I can clearly see that was where I could see, say, Sykes losing to, say, Mackenzie, was when Mackenzie passed us both. Round the whole lap, it was pretty similar pace. Like when I was watching Sykes and Taz, they were more or less matching each other all around the track. until they got to the hairpin, and I don't know if this is a riding style between the two of them, or whether the bike's allowing Taz to do something that it's not allowing Sykes to do. But as we've sort of got into the hairpin hard on the brakes, the sort of mid corner on the edge of the tyres, that sort of speed, they would do a full lap and would be all like them two would be sort of together, and then from the hairpin to the start finish straight there was like I would say 2-3 tenths, and it all seemed to be, as soon as we're into the hairpin, Taz seemed to carry like an extra like 4 mile an hour on the edge of the tyre, and where Sykes had like sort of stopped and then sat the bike up. So as Taz is accelerating on the side of the tyre and pulling away, Sykes was like waiting to pick the bike up, and then once he picked the bike up there was a good gain. That's the only thing that I could visually see that was,
and that's pretty much what you've described is pretty much the big difference between the Ducati and the Yamaha. You know, like when I rode the Ducati, it's definitely a very much brake hard, brake deep, turn it, get the bike stood up and go again. I've never ridden the Yamaha, but from everyone I've ever ridden against, it's like a lot of corner speed and a lot of tractability at high lean angle. So, yeah, they have their strengths and weaknesses, don't they? That all the bikes do. And I think if you watch even World Superbike, the way that Bautista rides the bike, it works so well for him because he picks the bike up so well that bike's never at as much lean angle as what a lot of the other Ducatis are. So I think the Ducati struggles on anything where you have to accelerate from slow speed up to high speed and continue to lean angle. That's what I always struggle with. I think it's only down to the fact it's got a single-sided swing arm. I think they have to put so much rigidity into it because it's of the way it has to hold the wheel, that it's just, no matter what you do to it, it's always going to be stiff. So it therefore doesn't pick up as much traction as anything else. And I think the way that the Yamaha makes the power, so the cross-plane crank is its probably strong point, and the ability to, it seems really settled from off brake to on throttle. The Yamaha never seems to get unsettled at that point, whereas a lot of other bikes you see the rider has to do almost break the corner down into sections, whereas Yamaha riders, and I've never ridden one, so it's not like, it's only from perception.
Would you like to ride one?
Yeah, of course. Like, as in just to see. I'm very happy with my Suzuki, but you know, like.
I'm not trying to trip you up. You know what I mean? I'm just like, you know.
But no, it'd be interesting because I don't know, but it's just from everyone that I've seen that get on that bike suddenly picks up speed in a certain place, and we've seen.
Well, Kyle and Brad.
I was just about to say, we've just seen how certain riders, when they get on a different bike, I think with Kyle and Brad, two things have happened there. One, they've got onto a bike that's better, because I think those Yamahas, obviously they won the championship last year, but also it suits their riding styles as well. So Kyle and Brad are both like real corner speed people that get on the gas early and sort of like roll that speed round, and that's working really, really well for them. I've said it so many times, but you know, like motorbike racing, you're jockeys, so you ride the horse that you know, doesn't matter what jockey you put on a Blackpool donkey, you're not going to win the Grand National. But the other way around as well, if you put a bad jockey on, you know, Red Rum, I think that's dead, but it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to win either. So, and it's about matching and marrying those things up. At the moment, it seems reasonably clear that the standout bike is the Yamaha, and we see that in multiple championships around the world. You know, BSB, Moto America. World Superbike a little bit less, but you still see it. It's there. So
that's a different kettle of fish, really. Isn't
so
it?
it just seems that they've got something good.
Going off last year to this year, the sort of the people that have moved the most, in terms of Danny Buchan didn't have usually he's really strong at Knockhill.
I think he was a bit disappointed with his Knockhill.
Usually a podium.
He did a double win last year, didn't he?
Yes, and I don't know his exact results, but he wasn't challenging for the podium anyway. So I think he would have been disappointed. Lee Jackson has made a massive step forward.
Massive step with Jacko.
And you can't do anything but take a hat off to him this year. And the team, they're doing a fantastic job. And it's almost like the Yamaha and the FS3 team there, though, like the standout.
The bad thing is when you separate them FS3 to any other Kawasaki in any other championship, they proper stand out. Them FS3 bikes, they've
Speaking of Kawasaki, I was also going to give a shout out to Storm Stacey as well, who's made a
brilliant ride.
Big step forward.
Rode really well at Knockhill.
And that's
the results actually didn't reflect it.
Yeah,
at all.
It was actually Haslam that crashed that sort of took him out, and he was on for a good result there. Yeah. He was really high up in all the practice sessions, and they've made a good step, and that's off the back of like last year when I was riding the Superstock bike, he was in the Superbike. I think he had one crash at
he's consistent
in Teston somewhere at Donington beginning of the season, and aside from that he did nearly the whole. I'm pretty sure he might have had like slipped off once or something, but
I think
more
it was
or less
Cadwell in the wet or something like that.
But he got
little shitty thing, you know what I mean?
Skinner actually lifted him up and like sort of knocked him off at Cadwell, but aside from that he's like virtually never crashed, where this year he's came off the back of a lot of crashes at Silverstone, again at Donington, 2 or 3 at Donington, and then to come out, you would have to say on the back foot after so many crashes, and to put on a performance like that was absolutely incredible.
He's learning.
He was like right up top 3 in practice, and doing an outstanding job. So obviously him and the team will be really hoping that they carry that form on to the next round. So I
think actually going back to Skinner, I think he had a disappointing Knockhill, but I think there was a lot of pressure piled on him. Definitely. Whereas 12 months ago, like I had a good Knockhill, but race 2 and 3 I was in a battle with him in the front group, and I think he led for like 25 of the 30 laps of the race 1 on Sunday, and I followed him for the whole time, like 25 laps, and he just never put a wheel. Okay, a wheel's always out of line with Rory, but like controllably out of line.
You're not holding your breath when he does it. Yeah.
Whereas actually when I watched the racing, because obviously I wasn't involved in it, but when I watched the racing at the weekend, he seemed a little bit more desperate to not impress, but a bit more desperate to lead, to be at the front, to so I actually think he had a less impressive Knockhill this year than he actually did last year.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's Matt, do you know, in motorbike
but that expectation that weighs heavy.
Yeah, it's not. There's nothing like linear about it. You never know. Like this time last year, Rory was like 19. Lee was 25, and Rory was like leading the races and things. You'd think 1 year on, what's actually happened is Lee's made he's like 5 years older or whatever, but he's the one that's made a massive jump. And that race where they were battling on the last lap and he did him into turn 1, and then
he's feeling it.
You know, the lap before as well, when Skinner then did him back into turn 4, and that's like a dangerous place to pass. So to do that on your teammate, and then for Lee to get the better of him at his home track, is, you know, like you can't, like I say, you can't do anything but take your hat off to him. He's doing mega. And it's one of them things, like I think me and Leo like the same age, and we've from like Super Team days all the way through. He's always been 1 year ahead, but we've more or less went through. And there's been a few times where he's like sort of...
Well, he's always been like the nearly man. Like he's just been hovering around, you know, like...
So when we first stepped up, he stepped up to Superstock 600, and I think I was either on a 125, and the first race of the season he got lapped by Jake Dixon, and at that point you think, wow, like he's like,
that's the progression.
But as soon as he's like on the back foot like that, that's when he comes out at his best. And he came out and he won that championship that year after getting lapped in the first race.
No way.
Yeah, at Brands Hatch, you can look at the results, and same again, like this year, like it's almost, you feel like he's on the back foot, and that like Rory's going to take the limelight, and he's such a determined character, and he always, when he's like put down, if you like, or like things, that's when he comes to his best. So like it's almost like if you were his coach, you'd be like sort of telling him how everyone thinks you're shit, and he'll win the championship, because that's that's when he comes at his best.
But I don't think anyone foresaw how well he was going to ride this year.
But that's like the key to like when he comes at his best, when people when people sort of write him off, or I mean at the beginning of the season,
I'd love to see how many people have got him on that top 8 prediction.
Yeah.
I don't think that many.
So
as good as he is, I don't think that many. Whereas now,
we'd have to look back. I don't think.
Hold on.
We did a top 8 prediction, didn't we? I think at the beginning, and I don't know if I can't remember if any of us put Lee in top 8.
I don't think I did.
He could easily win the championship this year.
100%.
So by default, he's going to have a shit year next year.
but certainly the FS3 bikes seem to have made a big jump.
Yes, definitely.
Both of them together have jumped. which also indicates that a team has made a step as well. You know,
Yes.
like when both riders make
Yes.
that step, you know, like if one did, you'd go, "Oh, he's going well."
Yeah.
Whereas
A pair
you go,
of them.
"They're going well."
I was speaking to Darren the other day about it actually, and he said there's not like one thing that they've like made a big step. It's just marginal gains everywhere,
Yeah.
small little changes, and it all seems to be lots of small changes seem to have made a massive difference. So
But where the championship's at now, you know, like it seems like maybe the first 6, which I'm going to have to try and reel off the top of my head.
I'll get the championship off for
The
you.
first 6 seem reasonably safe, but then
The bottom 2.
everyone else is battling for that 7-8, which is, I think at the moment, probably Bridewell, Brooks onwards. So then you've got like Hickman out of it, you've got Sykes out of it, you've got Haslam out of it, you've got the champion Taz out of it, you've got Lee out of it at the moment.
I'll
I
run
think.
through. So we've got Brad Ray, Jason O'Halloran,
Yeah.
Lee Jackson.
So them 3 so far, even if they stop racing now, I think would probably make it into the showdown with the points.
Yeah,
haul
Jackson's
they've got.
on 174 points, strong points. Skinner 148, Kyle Ride 141, Glenn Irwin 134. So Glenn had a mega start to the season.
You got
with the first-
75 in the 3 races.
Yeah,
so-
first 3 races, and then he had a decent round at Knockhill as well, to be fair. So that's 6th. Then, yeah, like you say, from there downwards, there's a huge jump from Glenn. So from 134 points, it goes to 94 with Tommy Bridewell. So you've got Tommy, Danny, Josh Brooks, Peter Hickman, yourself, Haslam, Andrew Irwin, Tom Sykes in that group. And that goes from
Are
Tom
you in the
Sykes.
championship?
Tom Sykes is
Don't know.
four.
I'm on BBC 2.
Tom Sykes has got 47 points and Tommy Bridewell's 94, so it's not like a massive jump. And then below them you've got Taz McKenzie 15th, Vickers 16th, Storm 17th, myself 18th, Tom Neve, Dan Linford, Mizuno, Danny Ken Takashi, Josh Owens, Mossy, Delves. Oh, sorry, I'm reading
You're in the
people with
non-
point.
you're in
Yeah,
the no pointers.
no points. Yeah, so from Josh Owens down, those are the people that haven't got any
So actually on those ones as well, like we haven't mentioned Vickers, who I think a lot of people probably tipped to have a good season, you know, moving to the FHO BMW,
Yeah, after what he's been able to do on the Lee Hardy bike and everything like that.
Yeah.
which I think until a few seasons ago was probably not looked upon as one of the top teams. Then I think Vickers and Lee Hardy together, they brought it to a level where, you know, like people really thought of them as something. And then Vickers, I think, moving to an official looking team. You know, the FHO squad looks so professional. You know, like,
isn't
it's
it? Yeah.
proper. Seems to have really struggled to have gelled with that one.
Yeah.
You told me a surprising stat just before that Luke Mossy hasn't scored a point yet, which is really surprising because he was pole, like you said, at the last race last year.
Yeah.
So there's a few sort of hanging out towards the back that you think, flipping it, you know, like if you saw those names, you'd be like, yeah, they could really challenge. And yet they're really struggling to do anything.
I tell you what, I don't know why they call football the beautiful game. It's a load of shite compared to this. This
But
is
it's
the
so
beautiful
tight,
game,
it's
isn't
so
it?
close, you know, it's so...
But just to mention in Vickers, Sykes put a proper move on him into turn 3. He was like, so
And
after,
sent him off onto the
after
gravel.
the safety car,
Yeah,
he was
sorry.
like fully committed in, and Sykes just lifted him up as he things and put him out on the gravel, and then I think he just pulled in the pits after that as well. So
Yeah, he did.
effectively,
It was kind of a weird one because when I was watching that one, and I didn't really see what had happened, but it came up that the race direction were looking into it, but nothing got done. But then it looked almost like Vickers had broke down, like he was in no rush to get back on the track, which was kind of a really weird.
I think at that point in the
kinda
race, he
weird
probably
to
knew
see.
that he wasn't going to get any points, and then it's pointless risking a crash for no points. I think that probably is. But I know what you mean. He was kind of like, what's the word?
Gesticulating.
That's the one. It's like
Yeah, rather than worrying about getting back at it and punching him afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like quite a chill.
I just found that really weird.
Rejoin.
He just
I know what you mean.
I thought he broke down, is what I thought. I broke a chain. That's, you know, he took that long to get back on track. I thought, it's a technical.
Yeah. Anything else to wrap up? The Super Sport was quite surprising.
Not really. Jack Kennedy pissed
I was
off.
going to say Appleyards are usually a very strong team, and they didn't have the best round at
not for their standard.
Brad Perry.
Yeah, 'cause he had a great round. That was like the
Donington.
making of but last year
Knockhill, he just pissed off. He was away,
Brad
wasn't
Perry
he?
was amazing at Knockhill last
and
year.
also at Donington last time out, he did the double.
Yeah.
He beat Jack.
Because I know at that point last year, the results that Brad was putting in was really putting him on the shopping list of a few people.
Yeah.
But then it sort of tailed off a little bit.
That was Jack on the 636, isn't it? Now that you've got Jack Kennedy on the R6, it just... When second that Mar Train news got announced, it was just like, well, just engrave it now, wasn't it? Though, you know what I mean?
But I mean, like, but talking about something different, but I think the entries are really down at Knockhill. Like, I know
it's
they're
the
down.
travel, innit?
I know it's the travel, but like, I do think that everything's taking an effect on people being able to get to places.
Yeah, diesel and it's
Also, just give a quick shout out. I didn't watch it at the time, but I've caught up since on the Superstock races, and I thought they were really good. Obviously, we're missing Tim Neve, who was the championship leader beforehand, who's recovering from a massive crash, which wasn't his fault in testing. And sending our best to Tim. Also, your teammate Charlie had a massive crash early on in the race, and I cannot tell you how lucky he is that he to walk away from it. I'll show you a picture. And
yeah, so Charlie
lad,
Nesbitt's riding the Vision Track bike Hawk Racing, we had an absolute disaster. Like, at Knockhill, it could not have been more of a disaster. Like, Tom Oliver broke his collarbone in free practice 1, high-sided. Danny Kent struggled all weekend, just never really found his flow and found his mojo. I flipping didn't make it round the sighting lap. And Charlie Nesbitt had I think he had a P6 in race 1, which was good.
You've seen the picture.
But then, Ushi. Okay. Yeah, so it was lucky.
That was very lucky.
Fair play to all the people behind him.
And then so Charlie Nesbitt had a P6 in race 1, but then high-sided, that was lap 1 of race 2. So like, as a team, we had a terrible weekend. But like, Charlie Nesbitt is such a talented lad.
Yep.
He's a funny lad, like
he's mint. We were down in London.
I said to Steve Hicken the other day, like the team manager, I said, "Oh, he needs a Netflix documentary about him because it's just like it'd be funny as like I'd watch it. Like I'd love to see an insight into his brain, like but nothing fazes him.
Yeah.
And fair play to the lad, like he's been doing fantastic, but he does tip off it quite a lot. So I'm hoping that once he stops doing that, he'll be.
He's definitely got the speed.
He's definitely got the speed.
Sorry about that. We just had the alarm going off, but. Can
all your bikes are still in there.
Thankfully, report that
that garage alarm system's shit hot.
I've got an intruder, so yeah,
happy days. But I tell you what, sorry about apologies here because I'm actually gonna have to dart off very, very soon, so I'll have to leave. Well, hold on, I don't know why I'm apologising. Just one co-host is leaving, just leave the other two co-hosts and ramble on, which is all good.
I get time and a half from now.
There you see, you can have my wage if there was a wage. Bloody hell. But I tell you what, before I dart off, there was a big crash at Kells, which actually abandoned the meeting, and unfortunately, a senior support rider, Jack Oliver, unfortunately lost his life at Kells, and I cannot tell you enough how loved the lad was, and like the lad was going places, he really was. Even though he was in the senior support races, which means he couldn't contend in like the main super sport and the open, his times were absolutely on the pipe, and he was safe, calculated, and unfortunately he lost his life at Kells there, which is it's another blow to the Irish scene because there was a huge send off for like Davy Morgan as well as Jack, and you know what the Irish are like, and they do things properly, and they just hold the sport so close to the heart, like we all do, but absolutely gutting. And I tell you what, it's been a bad run at news at the moment, but Hayden Gibson, obviously who does our lids, he recently lost his father to a stroke as well. It's just, so obviously our condolences go out to everyone, on that side of things, and that actually brings onto it like a good point, like the Stockton family have actually a GoFundMe system, don't they? So
yes,
I tell you what, I'm gonna actually sign off and go off from there. But Christian, great to see you again. Get well soon, Tom. And we'll catch up from there. Right? Sorry, I'm getting this habit of bailing out on you lads all the time. There you go. So happy days. Right, catch you lads later.
No problem.
See you, Dom.
See you in a bit.
Just on that note, so Bradley and Roger Stockton are the sidecar lads.
Yeah.
Father and son. Yeah. So
really sad.
That passed away at the TT. So there's been a GoFundMe page set up by, I presume it'll be like either the family or somebody from the family, but we're shared on the Chasin The Racin Facebook page, but it's also on, I think if you go visor down, you'll be able to find it. And yeah, obviously that'll have left the family in a very difficult financial position. So if anyone if anyone would like to help out, just you can find the link. Just message the page and I'll send you the link for that. But yeah, very, very sad news. I did actually have a quick flick through the motorcycle news before we started this, just for a few topics of conversation. And one of the big things that stood out is there's been a few big electric bike sales going on. So Norton have recently announced, so in the next, I think it's next 2 or 2.5 years, they're going to have an electric bike range and investing heavily in that. And also with Triumph, have just bought Ossett.
Yeah.
Now, know your mate Matt Late, his son, do they ride Ossett? Or?
They ride Revies, but it's a similar. So I think I don't know exactly, but the Ossett was really based around the trials market. And the Revies is like a scoot bike, but with a little electric motor in. So, yeah, like electric's coming, or other sources of racing are coming. I mean, funny enough, actually, I was watching the Moto E qualifying or free practice, whatever it was, yesterday, and my other half, like, she said, like, when are we going to be riding, or when are you going to be riding these as a main thing? And I think it's coming really quick, but I don't think it'll happen as a crossover, because then someone else also asked me, in fact it was Hugh, father-in-law, said, when do you think someone's going to enter a bike to actually race in the main class, i.e. MotoGP? And I don't think that they're going to make one competitive enough to race
at the same time,
directly at the same time. You know, like, I don't think there'll be that crossover where we went from 2 strokes and 4 strokes and there was a crossover pattern.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen. I think it'll be literally, this is the new rules, away you go.
Yeah.
But I think the Moto E's now are doing lap times that are like Moto 3 speeds. Obviously they're really heavy, but they accelerate about as quick as a superbike. Not quite MotoGP, but they accelerate to 120 about as quick as a superbike. So they set off quick because obviously it's unlimited power, but then I think they hit a bit of a wall in terms of how fast they go.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Triumph acquiring Ossett really caught my attention. I don't know why, but it just when companies start to acquire companies that are in a different field almost, they're after the technology. And I've started working with a motorcycle brand that doesn't currently produce an electric bike, but they have pretty much one of every electric bike that there is in all the world, because they just want to understand the technology and where it's going. And yeah, it's going to be weird, because it's gonna happen. And I've said it before. I'm against it in terms of I don't necessarily think it's all that much more environmentally friendly, because the batteries have to be somewhat done with them. They also have to be charged up somehow. You know, I'm not entirely sure how more environmentally friendly it is, but the thought to me of having a motocross track in the middle of a housing estate, because all you do is make dust but not noise, is mega.
Yeah, electric.
The accessibility for me is like amazing. So I'm happy to embrace it in that respect. But yeah, to see these big companies, you know, Norton, Triumph, like working on electric or acquiring electric companies, it's.
So Triumph have been working for a while about a motocross bike, haven't they?
Yeah, but that's not an electric motocross bike.
Just like a
but as well that's outsourced, I think. So there's another company actually developing that. So Triumph, it'll be Triumph badged, but they've got someone else doing it. But I don't know when that's due actually, because they've got some big names like Ricky Carmichael's like one of the face of it, who's like the greatest. Well, he's the Rossi of motocross. Yeah. In America anyway, and so they've put some big names to it. So it'll be interesting. But actually, there's a motocross bike that's making big waves at the moment called the Stark Varg. It's very IKEA-esque. It is Scandinavian. And if you watch the video for it, it's weird because it's a promo video, and normal motocross promo videos are quite sort of motocrossy. This one's got like a bloke in a suit and tie explaining all the details of this bike. And it's, when you see videos of it and watch it, it looks like it rides like a motocross bike. It's the first time I've seen someone ride an electric motocross bike and they look fluid like they would do on a you know, an engined motocross bike. So they're definitely making it happen and making it come. But I just, yeah, it's an interesting and I don't know about exciting, but it's interesting to see which way things are going to go for our sport, because it's going to be a complete change around in how it works and what goes on.
I don't think it'll be that long before there's a class of BSB that do something
Yeah,
electric.
I don't think long at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think long at all. I mean, it's definitely coming.
And I know we've spoke about this before, but I think in terms of whether it's better for the environment or not, it's a much easier sell to sponsors.
Yeah.
And I think if we were racing electric bikes now, I think you'd be just it'd be so easy to get sponsorship.
Well,
to do it.
every company wants to get on the green agenda because it looks good.
And it's exactly.
So even if that's completely wrong because your electric motorbike is powered by 12 generators out the back to be able to do it, and the batteries have got
it's all what it looks like.
12-month shelf life, and then you have to landfill them, then actually it's not true. But I do think that a lot of the companies want to get on that green agenda. But for me, it's the noise thing.
Yeah,
100% it's the noise thing. I think when it comes in, like we just spoke about Matt, like he can take his kids down to like the local park, maybe not the local park, 'cause you would make a mess of the grass, but like a local field, and no one's going to bat an eyelid. Whereas if you take them down there on your Pee-wee 50 or something like that, or your KX65 is a bit more noisy, people start moaning.
Yeah.
So it's suddenly going to open our sport up to kids actually more than anything. And if you can get people into it early on, I think it's mega.
Yeah, no, bang on. Just in terms of just a quick few things from MCN, there was the Wayne Rainey's riding at Goodwood. So
did you see that?
This week, so for the first time in 30 years since his accident. Have you seen the video of him?
I saw the video. I think the first run-ups had Kenny Roberts Sr. behind him.
All right.
So yeah, Wayne was paralysed from from the waist down. And I was actually zooming in at some of the pictures. So what they put is on his foot pegs, they put some bicycle cleats on. So that held his feet in. So I guess on the bottom of his boots, he had some cleats as well. And then they sort of like taped his legs on. And he let rip actually on the straights, because they don't have tyre warmers either or nothing. So and that was his first run, he let rip. So I think it was quite nostalgic for everyone to see that. Yeah. Obviously, Goodwood looks amazing,
But do you know, say if you haven't ridden in a while, and then you first run out of if you go testing, the first time you come out of pit lane, and then you open it up, and you're like, yes, we're back in business, sort of thing. Imagine having a 30-year break in between doing that.
You're doing it in front of all these people. Everyone wants to see you do it as well.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be really cool. Have you done Goodwood Festivals before?
No, never done Goodwood. I would like to. It looks cool.
If anyone's listening,
anybody
for next year. And also, I don't know if you've seen the news, but this week Top Rack it was like a sort of private test, but there was a few pictures leaked of it out with Quattraro, I think, went out on a MotoGP bike. I don't know if it sounds like he's not going to get a chance in MotoGP now, doesn't it? But I think everyone would love to see, even if it was just a few wild cards or whatever, I think everyone would love to see just how he would get on. And in terms of World Tour bikes as well, up until the last round, he was not quite as dominant. But saying that, this time last year, it took him a while to start winning. And then when he did start winning, he then came on really strong. But yeah, beginning of the season, it's been more Bautista and Jonathan sort of sharing the victories. But yeah, he rode. Did you see the last race?
I saw the last race.
Bikes, and how hard he was riding. It just looks so far over the limit. And to be fair, Jonathan looked like he was pretty much on his limit as well, but getting dropped off. But the stoppies he's pulling, and you watching and you think that bike cannot go any faster around that course. So fair play to him. And then Bautista just looks in his comfort zone.
I'll go back to the Top Rack thing on the MotoGP. One, it's just such a shame. So he's got a test on a MotoGP bike for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Literally is just a thank you for being amazing, winning the championship, have a go on this bike. But it's almost like, here's a bag of sweets, you can take two, and then I'm having the bag of sweets back, because he's not going to get that chance. Mm-hmm. And actually that is going to filter down, because it probably has implications. The fact that next year MotoGP is only going to be 2 Yams on the grid, that leaves no space for Top Rack, obviously. And Locatelli's going to stay at Pata as well. So that actually filters down in terms of potentially even a problem for Taron, who didn't move up to World Superbike after winning BSB last year. And I don't know if it was promised it as a continuation next year, but whatever it is, I'm sure he was hoping that in 2023 World Superbike will be the go. That might leave him really without a ride.
Yeah.
In that respect, he'll never be without a ride, but as in to move forward, because that it all filters down. So if that stepping stone progress doesn't continue, if Top Rack doesn't move up, that next space doesn't get opened in the factory team, which means the space doesn't get opened in the GRT team, which it all filters up and down. So actually, like, probably the most upset person that Top Rack didn't get MotoGP is first Top Rack and second Tyrone McKenzie, because it does filter down in that respect, and that is how you look at it.
He's had such a difficult start of the season, Taz, hasn't he? Like, with all the crashes, and even now getting back on his feet, he had another two, well, definitely one big crash. I think I don't know where his second crash was. I seen the one at turn 1.
Yeah, so Tyrone obviously got really injured, basically really early on in testing at the start of the year. Came back and spanned himself big time at the first test, and then rightly had to take time to get himself right again. And then he just seems to be beating himself up a little bit lately, and it's hard because, like we all try and do, if you've missed a bit of time, you have to try and get back to as quick as everyone else, as quick as you can, but everyone else has had time to build up to that, so you have to push the limits, and he's finding it every now and again. At the moment, he's probably just getting a bit fed up with it, just because you can see it, like when as he stood up from that crash at turn 1, it was a fast crash, but he didn't seem to tumble too heavily.
Yeah.
But he took his time getting up. It was probably one of them like,
Winded, yeah.
Like, really? Like, again?
I know he didn't have the best weekends on track, but did you see the McLaren he got loaned for the weekend?
Yes, I did. Taz got lent a McLaren for the weekend. He came past and beeped at me. I went, "Oh, mate, that's got the wimpiest little horn on it." I couldn't believe it. He's got this cool car. And he went,
no trick bit of kit, but well deserved. After, I mean, last year he was phenomenal, wasn't he? And I'm sure once he gets a few rounds under his belt, he will come strong. And with
even
the showdown,
even though he actually rode really well from the back of the grid, and then to get in the top 10 from the back of the grid at Knockhill is not easy, and then rode well in this. He did what he had to do on Sunday, which was like just finish some races. Let's start to rebuild what we've got. And he's one of them that he'll uncork it at some point, and then because he's got the ability to win races, he can put in a massive points haul in a short period of time.
Yeah.
So don't discount him one little bit.
Yeah, it's one of them where it is possible that he could sneak in the showdown and then just have like a last 3 rounds and still contend for the championship with the regulations that we've got. Without the showdown, he would be out of the championship.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, well, time will tell if that comes off.
And then I was going to go back to Bautista, because I really wasn't sure about that. When Ducati re-signed him, I was like, I don't see how you can do the same thing again and expect a different result. Mm-hmm. So Bautista nearly won he won the first 11 races, didn't he? Was miles ahead in the championship. Then Johnny overhauled him, whatever it was, 3 years ago. And then Alvaro went to Honda and sort of was just riding that bike to its capabilities. And then Ducati re-signed him, and I was really unsure about that as a re-signing, because if you think, well, you've gone toe-to-toe with Johnny already previously, the bike's the same, the rider's the same, how do you expect a different outcome? The season's not done yet, but at the moment it does seem to be working out. Yeah,
he looks, as a combination, they look pretty unstoppable.
They look fantastic, yeah. The way he rides that bike it just works.
Yeah.
It's all well and good. I said before about you have to have the right bike and the right rider, but it's not always as simple as that, because actually those two also have to gel. So it's
and in all fairness, to be fair, so after the Ducati period, he went to the Honda with Haslam. Both of them were pretty uncompetitive regularly on the Honda. This year, the Honda team got 2 riders from the MotoGP paddock, and is it
Vieja and Macrona,
and them two, and them two are doing class as well.
Yeah,
they're like regularly sort of 4th, 5th around that sort of area.
The Honda seems to have made a step. I'd say that. And it's getting there, towards I think actually, because we're so lucky that BSB, the rules are so good, literally every bike on that grid, there's better ones, there's worse ones, but more or less, I mean, flipping heck, they're close, like I can ride with you can ride with Sykesy can ride with, whoever, all the bikes are so close.
Yeah.
And that makes for racing that is just unreal. World Superbike is getting better. I think it's way better than it's been for years and years. At the moment, it's pretty clear that there's those 3 riders. There's 3 good bikes with 3 good riders at the moment that are
the cream
of the crop. The Honda is edging its way nearer, and Lecuona, probably more than Vierge, has shown that he's really strong.
Yeah. At the same time, the Honda's getting closer. Two things to note, really. Going into this year, I was expecting Gerloff to be closer to the front.
Yeah, I don't know what's
Surprised
happened
he's
with Garrett.
dropped off.
Yeah.
And also, as the Honda's improving, that's pushing the BMW further down. And I had a strong feeling that Scott wasn't going to challenge for the championship this year, but I thought, going off like previous years where sort of Van der Mark could win on his day on the Yamaha, but was like a top sort of 5 man, and then he slipped into the sort of, you'd have to say, like 5th to 9th group when he went to BM. I was expecting Scott to go from like challenging for wins to drop into about 4th, 5th, where regularly,
which I think was probably as worse as he would have anticipated, but. Like the last race, it was Imola, wasn't it?
Yes.
So I always get them mixed up with Misano, Imola, and I just get the names mixed up. Like BMW was a disaster.
Yeah.
Like 2 seconds a lap off the pace of the front runners is not even like riding the same track.
Yeah.
It is, and we're talking good riders. Scott, Loris Baz, Van der Mark's injured, and Eugene, and so they had Mitch Alchik back to replace Van der Mark. But like those riders are fantastic riders. They are not 2 seconds a lap off riders. And Scott battled for the championship last year and now just finds himself in absolute no man's land.
And I don't really think they know exactly it's not like they've got the whole package and they've got a big problem with this part of the bike, like a particular. It just seems to be, they just can't seem to find I don't really know a great deal about it, but just from like the outside, it looks like they're struggling for pace and they're not exactly sure where to find it.
Which is worse, isn't it? It's a bit like when you ride on track and you follow someone, if they gap you in a certain area, you come back and you tell the team, we need to work there.
Yeah.
But you also have days where you come back and they say to you, well, where are they gaining on you? And you just go, well, everywhere. Like it's literally just, it looks like that with the BMW. It's just like, well, we need to improve everywhere. It's not just like you need to be better on the brakes, you need to be better in the corner, you need to be better. No, it's all of it.
It does go to show though how important the bike is in our sport.
100%.
Because I know we've said it before, but when you if you go through the BSB championship, I'll just get the riders up now. Nearly every single rider or most riders in the championship have had a race or like a couple of rounds where they've looked like they're the dominant rider in the championship. And then you look down, so obviously Taz absolutely smashed it last year. Glenn, first round, 3 race wins. Dan Linfoot, who had a period when he was on the Honda where he won in the wet, won in the dry, looked like he'd like sort of clicked with something. You've got Vickers, who on his days, can beat anyone. And I mean, like the lap time he did at Cadwell Park on the things. You've got Skinner, who like at the weekend was amazing. Luke Mossey, who there was a time when he was on the Bournemouth bike when
he was going to win the championship.
He was going to win the championship. Beaten Haslam, like he looked like everyone in the paddock was kind of looking at him as if he's the next. If anyone's going to go to World Superbikes, it's going to be him, sort of thing. And obviously, as you go down, there's so many. Brad Ray had that thing when he was about 21, 22 where he won on the Bill Base bike at Donington. Then he was like, it was basically him and Shaky, and he was like the young.
He got a MotoGP test.
Everything was coming to him, and then
they don't give them out as flipping. Do you know what I mean? In a raffle, they are like.
And then he did have a sort of a dip in whether it's dip in form of him or whether the bikes just weren't allowing him to show what he was capable of. But all the time last year when he was on the BM, he didn't do a great deal.
It's exactly that. If you look at Bautista from Honda to Ducati, look at Scott Redding from Ducati to BMW, look at Brad Ray from BMW to Yamaha, or Kyle the same, or there's so many times that you can bring up those things, and it is literally about marrying the rider to the bike and the bike that's working well at that time.
I'm just looking, Tommy Bridewell, can you remember that race at Oulton Park last year? But he was like, there was a
second faster than anyone,
and then he just dominated.
I was in that race, and I was in the next group, and I actually thought he'd crashed because after 3 laps, I was like, he must have crashed.
Yeah. You've got Danny Kent, who's obviously a genuine world champion, the only one that we've had in the UK since Barry Sheen. Hickman, Cadwell Park last year, where he just looked unstoppable, dominating. You've got Kyle Sykes, obviously two times world champion. You've got Haslam, who's obviously won numerous things, won the championship. Danny Buchan, who at times has looked unstoppable. But yeah, any of those people can finish like 14th, 15th on a bad day, and it is a great championship we've got. Like, it is proper class. So in terms of World Superbikes, I've been a little bit out of touch. I watched those races from Imola. They're at where they're at next. I know MotoGP are at Assen this weekend, aren't they?
Yeah.
I can't remember where World Superbikes are at next. Do you know?
No, I don't know, but we've got Donington coming up soon. I do know that.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. But hopefully there'll be a good British contingent go and turn up and watch that.
Do you know who's doing wildcards for that weekend?
I don't actually. I know that Taron is supposed to be, because he was supposed to do Assen earlier in the year and obviously he got injured.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that he is penciled in. And that is on a that's not his BSB bike.
Yeah, like a World Superbike spec.
That's a proper World Superbike spec. So that'll be built by Crescent, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Put into their colours, their McCann's colours.
Yeah.
So that'll give him a real good chance to have a go at it. I don't know if he's going to get to test it beforehand, because like I said, I've just been out on a bike with electronics and it's so different.
Yeah.
So I hope that he gets a chance to test it.
No, we were saying about like so-and-so beating so-and-so and so-and-so. Last year, Luke Mossy on like not a competitive bike at all was ahead of Bautista on the factory Honda at Donington.
Yeah, on the
bike.
Pedicini
and
bike.
you're looking now, and like you say, he's in BSB this year having a hard time. Yet he was scoring points. He was scoring points in World Superbikes, like battling with Bautista last year, and you're just thinking like it is mad.
Because you look at that, you could say, okay, well, Luke Mossy could be leading the World Superbike Championship, or or the other way, if Alvaro came to BSB, he'd never score a point. It's like, but it's not. It's a snapshot in time, innit? You know, it's
exactly that. Yeah. In terms of MotoGP for this weekend, by the time this podcast goes out, it'll be Sunday night, so the racing will have finished. Are you still sticking a couple of quid on a few races, or have you?
Yeah, no, I love it. I'd put money on Alicia Spargo at 80-1 to win the championship, but I backed out.
Can you cash out?
I have cashed out early, so I'm already out. I'm gutted because actually I think I cashed out far too early. It was after like round 3, and I thought he can't keep this up. Flipping fair play to him. He's kept it up. Like, those Aprilias look awesome right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, Aprilia are going to have a second team, because the RNF team, or whatever you call it, what was the Petronas team, are switching. They're the ones that are going to go to Aprilia. So that's going to be a real...
Speaking of Alicia's just topped FP3 today.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, despite late crash. So he's crashed, but he is top. But yeah,
know Mav is about third as well or something, so he's starting to show more of the Mav that people employ him for.
Yeah, well impressive that. Paul Espargaro is ruled out with a rib injury. It looks like Dixon's had a crash and Sam Lowe's has had a crash. Dixon and Sam seem to be crashing a lot this year.
Yeah, Sam was back on the box at Sachsenring, but I think that's the first time he'd scored in the last 5 or 6 races. 2 of which I think were his own doing, and the other ones weren't. So he's been unfortunate, but also sort of... Sam has a lot of front enders. It's weird one with Sam, because when he does crash with it, it's as if it's come out of nowhere, but he just does it so often, so it's a strange one. Jake's having a reasonably strong year, you know, and certainly in the free practices, he's now that regularly in the top group of, say, 8 riders.
Yeah.
He's probably a bit frustrated at the moment with his overall results, but yeah, he's really starting to show the form that.
In terms of like outright speed, he's got it. It's
100%.
It just seems stringing it together and staying on.
Yeah, when you listen to him when you watch him and listen to him, it's almost like he second guesses himself quite a lot. You know, he seems to overthink the job almost. You know, you sort of think when you watch it, you're like, just Jake, just go race. You know, like you've got it. Just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's because there was plenty of talk of him maybe going to MotoGP. That seems to have gone really, really quiet. So the MotoGP thing's been rocked massively by the news that Suzuki's pulling out, which has been the big sort of. I think it's actually going to kickstart a load of things going on. So obviously, Mir and Rins are looking for a ride now. Mm-hmm. It looks like Mir is going to go to Repsol Honda to partner Marc Marquez. Paul Espargaro is apparently going to Tech 3 KTM, and apparently that's a done deal. And actually, I was listening to it before, and they reckon that's why he's decided his ribs is hurting, because he can't be bothered now to ride his Honda. And Honda are having a terrible time of it. It's that weird scenario now that Honda is always thought of as the best bike, that now people are almost shying away from it. You know, I think it was that last round that it's the first time they haven't scored a point like any Honda in something like It was a crazy stat, you know, like 15 years or something. It's the first time they haven't scored a point in all that time. So they're really in the doldrums to trying to understand what's going on. So yeah, apparently Nakagami's not going to keep his seat, and Ayagura's going to come in.
Right.
They're going to give Alex Marquez the boot, and I think Oliveira is going to go into that seat, which will be really interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's going to be a load of movement going on with all those teams.
Are you going to go to the British Grand Prix this year? Have you got plans to go down?
No, I don't think I will.
Yeah. I went last year and it was I really wish it was at Donington.
I know. Silverstone's great to race, especially on those big bikes, because you need to let them stretch their legs.
Yeah.
But I think the atmosphere that Silverstone creates is a little bit stale.
It's purely just because it's like so
Too
safe in terms of the runoffs and everything. Yeah. It just takes it a little bit away from the spectators.
100%.
Feeling the speed and feeling the
100%.
things. If you're that sort of far away, it looks quite slow.
It does.
Yeah.
Despite the fact they're doing 200 and something mile an hour, you're like...
It's like the best riders on the best bikes in the world, and you're like, it's a little bit deflating. I think, anyway. FP4 results, so Quartararo's top. Quartararo's on such good form at the moment. Bagnaia second, Miller third, Alicia Spargo fourth, Miguel Oliveira fifth, Martin sixth, Bastianini seventh, Mav eighth, Brad Binder 9th, and Luca Marini 10th. Luca Marini's another one that's coming on strong.
Yeah, well, I got it wrong just before. So Oliveira's going to the Aprilia RNF, and Alex Rins is going to ride the LCR bike that Alex Marquez is getting rid of.
Right, okay.
So it's really, and apparently Alex Marquez is going to go on to either Bastianini's bike or one of those two bikes.
So there's quite a lot of...
There's loads of moving and shaking, and obviously the big fight at the moment is for the second seat in the factory Ducati.
Yeah, because Zarco wants it, doesn't he? But I don't think he's getting it.
Zarco's not going to get it, which is weird because he's the top Ducati right now in the championship.
Yeah.
He's not been out the top 4 in the last 5 races or something.
Yeah, he's doing a great job for me.
But he's just not going to get it, is he?
Yeah. But I've got like an old Ducati team, I think, now. And I changed things around because I did have Suzuki as my manufacturer, but as soon as they pulled out, I've changed it to Ducati. But because Ducati were quite expensive, I had to sell some riders and get some less good. But yeah, I've had Zarco in from day one, and Bagnaia. Bagnaia is so talented and such a good rider, but he's just crashing too much at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like he's out the championship fight now.
Yeah.
But yeah, for that second seat, so obviously Miller's leaving, he's going to factory KTM.
Yeah.
So that's a done deal. So there's Jorge Martin and Enea Bastianini sort of scrapping over that second Ducati bike. But it's kind of a weird scenario that we've got in racing now, in MotoGP, because it's weird because those factory bikes are no different to the bike they're on anyway. They're literally just changing garage.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. They're scrapping over a bike that's not going to be any different to what they've got now. It's almost more of a kudos thing, and more of a, yes, they'll have more technicians, they are more involved in the factory, but actually they've probably got, within reason, the same chance on the bikes they're on now.
Yeah.
And maybe even in less of a pressured
some riders
scenario.
Some riders definitely do better.
And I did actually read something about Zarco saying he's happy where he is, and maybe that is the knowledge that he's got. He's got a bit more sort of time under his belt than the two young guns that are fighting for it, that really want the factory seat. You just wonder whether he's just like playing that clever game and just goes, do you know what, I'm quite happy where I am. And racing is so much about the head, isn't it? If you've got a happy head, you go fast.
Yeah.
If you haven't got the pressure of you're in the factory team, you have to perform, otherwise you're toast. You know, actually, you could be better off.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So in terms of predictions for this weekend, who are you fancying for top 3?
I'm going to go for Quartararo and the two Aprilias. Just for an odds thing, I think Mav was incredible at Assen last year when he was like wanting out of Yamaha and suddenly turned it on for one race.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that just because I think the odds will be quite good on him.
It's always quite a close race there, and
it is. And but Quartararo, if he gets his flow going, he's been fast all weekend. Aleix just seems to have found that sweet spot of being able to he's never out the top 5 in any session now. You know, like I was his biggest critic. Like, honestly, I could not understand why anyone employed him. I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure on the podcast we've once said something about like how amazing his manager is.
Yeah.
Like before he had this like sort of massive spurt, he'd been in GP for so long without showing any glimpses.
He never even got a podium until Silverstone last year, like in any class. He was it was just bizarre. And yet he's got, a house in Andorra and 3 Porsches and, like whatever it is,
Living the life,
living the life. He flies his private plane everywhere. You just think, oh my God, So I've gone from being his biggest critic to actually I quite like him because I've disliked him so much. Now I really quite almost cheer for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because he's still not in a way, he's still not almost given the respect that he deserves. That he still gets talked about, but not talked about directly.
Yeah.
Like he's an afterthought. Whenever you hear any of the pundits, they go, right, who's your man for this weekend? They go, Francesco Bagnaia, Fabio Quartararo, even Jorge Martin, blah, blah, blah. Aleix will be there. But it's always the afterthought, and yet he's the one sticking it to him. He's the one seconding the championship, I mean, bless him when the other week at Barcelona, when he celebrated a lap too early. I mean, the poor guy.
Funny enough, we've just started a thing on the podcast where I can't remember who it started with, but I asked them what the most embarrassing. Yeah, it was Gav Emmett, I think it was. Asked them the most embarrassing moment of their life, and it became like a running theme. And then when that happened, it was like I think I put a thing on the Facebook saying like, Aleix, what's your most embarrassing moment of your life? And then Aleix, hold my beer. And then I played that video. Do you have like a standout embarrassing moment of your life?
No, I'll think about it for the next pod, which is probably next week.
Yeah. Right, we've got I obviously put on that you're coming on the Patreon page. A few questions. Greg Murtagh said, have you ever thought about going road racing? I think you've talked about this before.
Yeah, I talked about it before. It's always a thought process, but actually probably by the next pod I'll have a baby as well. So I think that's less of a consideration for me now because I just think it's an extra. I've never had anyone that depends on me, and now I will do so.
Hey, congratulations. When's it due?
It's due August the 21st. I could really do with it coming Monday after Brands because that would really help me out in terms of how busy I am.
Yeah. Can you remember one of Danny Buchan's kids that he had? It was delivered on like a Friday night. So he did FP1, FP2, went to hospital during the night. They delivered the baby, and then he was back for like qualifying the next day.
Well, actually, Mossy, I think, had won at Alton one time, and his baby, I think he got a few. And his kid or one of them was delivered on the Sunday and he'd won, so he'd had a really good day.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure I remember that rightly, but he certainly got the podium and a kid in one day. It's quite good going.
Yeah, class. Aye. Congratulations about that anyway. Luke, considering how quick you've been on the Suzuki and how Ducati have struggled in this year, do you think that moving to Suzuki this year was an unexpected upgrade than to racing for Ducati again?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I've been really frustrated with my results this year because I've had 2 years of pretty much going home every weekend with a trophy. And you know how you get used to that feeling.
That becomes the norm.
That becomes the norm, and that becomes the norm really quickly. And then all of a sudden, when that's not happening, the frustration sets in really quickly as well. So, I don't have any baseline to understand where I should be on the Suzuki. I'm going quicker than it's gone previously. I'm scoring reasonably good results, but it's not where I expect to be.
Yeah.
And I was actually having this conversation with my dad, and he said, well, do you think you'd be any better off if you're on the Ducati? Don't know, is the honest answer. I really don't know. I think the continuity really helps. I think a lot of the time that I'm struggling to get up to speed is because when you come back to a track on the same bike with the same team, you just hit FP1 hard and you're already in that zone, already in that window, and you just work on refining things. Whereas I sort of, at the moment, I'm finding that I'm not comfortable until I get into a race or race 2, and then I start to find my flow, and then, then you're somewhere near. But then the weekend's over. I almost need to race on Monday.
Yeah.
So, don't know. You never know what the bike to be on is at the time, and I don't like to think of it that way because then you're always wishing something else. So for me, I'm on the Suzuki. I think it's an enjoyable bike to ride. I think I'm getting more or less the most out of it, but I do think we've got more to give anyway.
Yeah.
So I do think there's more to come. I think we can spring a few surprises before the season's out. I really still hope we can get into the showdown. I've made it really hard for myself by the situation at the weekend. Losing 3 races was an absolute disaster. Because actually I think we were quite strong at Knockhill. I felt every time I went out on track, I could ride round and be in the top 10, not with relative ease, nothing's with relative ease, but it was feeling okay.
Good.
Feeling good. And it was the first time I rode it in the wet, and we P1'd in the wet, and actually it felt really good. So I'm hoping that if we get another wet session, it's not always a given, but it felt nice, so it's got its strengths.
Yeah. For some reason, that the bike seems to... I mean, Coops won in the wet on that bike years ago at Brands Hatch.
Yeah.
Gino was like amazing in the wet. So yeah, hopefully...
It just seems to pick up grip from the rear really well. You know, like when I was riding around at Knockhill in the first wet session, and I actually wasn't going to go out. So it's only because so many people, a bit like you know, like you knew the rest of the weekend was dry, so you gain nothing from it, do you? So I'd spoke to the team, like, should we go out? And well, we'll see what everyone else does. And then like when about 20 people went out, you know, you sort of feel bad.
Yeah.
So I was like, I better go out. But sort of my head wasn't in it, but you know, you're just like, well, I'll just go and roll around. But then it was like, oh, this is good, you know, like
a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, pleasant surprise. And riding in the wet's weird, isn't it? Because when you don't get the feeling, it's the most horrible thing going.
Yeah.
And yet when you do get the feeling, actually, you almost sometimes have more feel than you do in the dry because you've got a bit more movement from the blocks to the tyres. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Class. Jacob Cuthbertson, hope you're healing well. Will you be doing any more endurance races, which you've already answered? P.S. My girlfriend wants to know your skincare routine.
I use Aldi's own brand. I think. No, I do. I've used it for years.
Yeah.
I wash twice a week, and then put Aldi's cream on it.
Class. Jess Mortimer. There seems to be more mid-season training injuries these days. Sorry to bring it up, but it's not just you, is it? What do you think is so hard to replicate bike fitness? Make sure you get your co-presenter Fee Christian as well. I think maybe Jess must have thought you've like had like a mid-season practicing injury, which it wasn't. It was just at the round. But in terms of other pre-season, I can't really think of many other people that have had pre-season incidents recently. John McPhee had one. But actually we've just had Pedro Acosta's just broke his femur motocrossing, so he's out for this weekend. Wow.
So yeah, that is a big hit. I think it's difficult because especially there's so many different bikes you can ride now to keep fit and keep sharp.
Yeah.
I think in BSB, most riders use motocross because it's the most accessible and easy. Mm-hmm. I think actually on the continent, you get them a lot on the pit bikes or the, you know, like the Ovali type things and those sort of things. And they're not going slow on them neither. So, you know, you had Scott Redding the year before that broke his leg just before the start of the year on a pit bike. Yeah. The long and short of it, in my opinion, is you run the risk, but you're better off running the risk of getting hurt than turning up to a race and just being a little bit off par.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'm sort of the opinion.
Guaranteed.
There's no point turning up if you're not turning up at your best.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's a risk factor. You know, we've had it in the past. We've had Dovey get hurt. We've had Rossi get hurt. You know, we've had big names get hurt riding motocross or dirt track, or, you know, you hear the Marquez has had a crash somewhere, you know. But I just think it keeps you sharp. So, and I think now, because every year the rules get better, the tyres are the same tyres, as in like it's a one make series, the electronics are now one make, everything is getting taken away from the external factors are getting taken away. So you have to find the smaller and smaller marginal gains. So if you find that marginal gain by being sharp, arriving sharp, then I think that's why you see more than what you might maybe previously did.
Yeah.
Just because people are doing more between races.
Yeah.
It's just a volume versus...
I'm in that sort of position where I think I would massively benefit from going motocrossing.
I mean, we had this conversation the other day, didn't we? I said to you, buy a motocross bike, and you were like,
But I just feel, because I mean, I did do a little bit of motocross when I was a kid, but I wasn't particularly good at it. And I feel like, because I don't have a high level of skill, the chance, like say if me and you both went motocrossing, the chance of me injuring myself is much higher than the chance of you because you're much more competent on the bike. So yeah, it's a difficult one for me. But,
it is a difficult one because you tried the pit bike as well and you didn't find it was beneficial.
No, I just found it wasn't like physically demanding. So therefore, I mean, it's a good laugh with your mates and stuff, but I just thought I was like wasting time and fuel.
But I just think the number of injuries thing is just a pure volume thing. Yeah. Riders are trying to keep on the bike, because there's no better thing than to keep on a bike. We don't get to ride the big bikes normally, so
compared to a normal season as well, I don't think it's particularly high this year, to be fair.
No, I don't think it's been extra, but
yeah. NK, that's down as the name. any of you three guys going to be attending the Sunflower Race this year at Bishop's Court? I haven't got any plans, but I'd definitely be open to, if there's any seats available, I would be up for it. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. I think I've still got the trophy at home because it's not been run since the last time I won it.
Yeah,
so, and yeah, when I did win it, I had to pass Coops on the last lap who was riding the Hawk bike. So I know that the team are probably not against going. So I'd like to do it. I enjoy going over there. It's a good track there. Obviously over there, the fans are always pretty cool as well. They always get a good attendance. So yeah, I'd love to go to the Sunflower.
Dude, in terms of the track, is it like a BSB spec track, facilities wise and stuff?
What do you mean by facility wise? Because has it got flush toilets or like?
Well, could BSB logistically go there?
I think they could.
Yeah,
I think it's been looked into. There's no like real garages, but it's like a old airfield.
Same as Cadwell.
Same as Cadwell. No garages. I think the track is safe enough. I think Bishop's Court could do with the last sector just being changed because it just gets a little bit fiddly and a bit of a strange last sector. But literally, if they change one corner, I think it'd be good to go.
I think it would be good for the championship, wouldn't it? To like, I know people think it's a ball lake. A lot of Southern people think it's a ball lake coming up to Knockhill.
Yeah, but they don't realise what it's like living up here.
Well, I think it's really important that people from the north of England and Scotland have a track somewhere near.
100%.
Like, it's good for all of us, like in the long run.
I know we said it before, but like Anglesey, I really wish there was a race at Anglesey.
There's not many people around there, though. That's the only thing. It's a great track, but in terms of like, say, if we had one in Northern Ireland, there's a massive pool of people. But I do think that
it's the British Superbike Championship, so I do think you should have one in Wales. And Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I suppose in Wales you've only got Pembrey and...
Or go Pembrey. It's even further away, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Pembrey's not a very good track for BSB, I wouldn't think. Anglesey's definitely better than Pembrey.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because we're talking about all these different things. So what makes a track that's good enough for BSB? Well, Pembrey's short or Anglesey's... or whatever it is, but Knockhill's really short. Or you go, oh, well, Bishop's Court's got no facilities, but neither's Cadwell Park. So what... I don't know what it is they're looking for that makes it so we go, yeah, we can go there, or we can't go there. What ticks that box? And I think it's a bit unfair that certain tracks are overlooked. We've got Croft up the road. I think Croft's a bit dangerous as it is at the moment. I think they would have to do something to it. But it's been resurfaced. I ride it when I coach there, so it's got a great surface. It's longer than most BSB tracks. That would put another track away from that group, that cluster of tracks that are sort of Midlands to South.
Yeah.
That would help people further up north.
Yeah.
So we've definitely got other tracks, I would 100% go Bishop's Court, Anglesey and Croft to add 3 more to the calendar.
Yeah, rather than, because I think we'll go to Donington twice and Oulton twice and Brands twice.
Yeah.
So yeah, sort of spread it out.
But I quite like the fact that we do Donington 2 different layouts.
Yes, me too. Yeah, I definitely prefer the National as well.
Do you?
Yeah,
I prefer the long one, but I just like the fact that we do, at least it's different both times, because at least then you're doing not the same.
Yeah, I just think the last sector's just like straight hairpin. It's like the rest of it's like really like cool corners and like something about it where I think you do the full track, it's mega. You get down to Foggy S's and then you're like, oh, like
go stop.
Yeah, it's a bit shit. Last Patreon, I have missed a few Patreon questions because we've already like sort of covered the topics and stuff, but last one from Andy Hosking, and he said, usual question about the embarrassing moment, which we'll do on the next podcast. You can have a think. And what are your greatest achievements? And if you could do it all over again, would you change anything about your career path?
Greatest achievements? I don't even know. Whenever I've been asked it before, I say I'm still yet to have my greatest achievement. In racing, I don't know. I do think that I've still got more to give, and until I achieve the goal that I want to do, which is BSB champion, I don't think I will have achieved what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
Career path, I wish that my time and it's not that I could have changed path, it wasn't something that was taken out of my hands, but when I was at World Supersport with MV Augusta, I had a 2-year contract, but the team lost the contract with the manufacturer, so therefore my contract was void, and we just started to stretch our legs at the end of that year, got some upgrades with the bike, and the year after it seemed like a really good bike, because it then had Cluzel on it the year after, and I just really wish that I had that opportunity to continue with that, because I do think that my career would have been different.
Yeah.
you know, we were putting it to the likes of Van der Mark, Top Rack, you know, like I was with them, battling with them, and they've gone on to, Keenan, not Top Rack, but they, like, all them lot went on to really great things. Van der Mark especially sort of been able to just continue through his career, and I think I had the measure of him, but paths divide, and that's how it goes on. So in terms of how it spread apart, that was to me the dividing part of how my sort of career went the other way. I then had to go on, not had to, but I then went to World Superbike, but with the promoter thing. So it was just a highway to nowhere, and then you just have to start again, back to BSB, and just reset you go again, basically. So that's where I wish it had changed, but it's not something that I regret, because I made a poor decision, you know, like, it was just literally, that is it taken away from me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was a shame.
Yeah, it's one of them things, isn't it? Like, looking back, you can't really change it, but it's kind of frustrating in some ways. But then other doors have been opened that you wouldn't have, and
100%. I genuinely, like, I always try and go with a positive mindset. So every opportunity that you get given, if you take it with open arms and make the most of it, if you spend too long wishing that something else had happened, then you just always, you know, your head's somewhere wrong. You know what I mean? It's like I think you just have to concentrate on what you're doing right now and make the most of it, and then good things will come.
Mm-hmm. Just a quick random question, but you know how we used to have the transatlantic trophy where you'd put like a team together from the UK? If you could put, let's just say they're all on Suzuki, like standard Suzuki JSXRs, and there was like a UK versus the rest of Europe, say, and it was some kind of like a superbike championship, or let's pretend like every country put like 5 riders up.
Yeah. So
you could have your choice of 5 riders from BSB.
Just BSB?
Yeah.
Or so British riders?
We'll do just BSB from the superbike grid now, so you can include like Australians and such like. So you can take 5 riders. Which 5 riders would you take for your team?
I can have Jason.
Yeah. So you'd obviously put yourself in, and then another 4.
I would have Kyle and Brad.
Yeah.
And I probably would have Taron.
Yeah.
So that'd be my 5.
Interesting that you went for you and the 4 Yamaha riders.
Yeah.
No, talking about like, because do you know this time last year?
Yeah.
Would you have chosen Kyle and Brad? Considering that
I think I probably would have chosen Kyle this time last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I probably would have chosen Skinner.
Mm.
So I've changed Skinner for Brad, which is a close one.
Yeah. It is interesting, and I think like
and probably people listening to this probably think, why Kyle? But I think there's something underlying that he's yet to
unlocked. Yeah,
and I don't know whether he's ever going to. I think he's got the power actually to do it.
Yeah,
and it's whether he decides to do it.
He's a rider that like on his day can be like, and he has had some like amazing opportunities over the years. Mm-hmm. Like when he was like 17 and he got that podium in a World Supersport wildcard.
Oh, unreal.
And
what a race.
And then got what you would say was like sort of the best ride in World Supersport at the time.
He was Keenan's teammate.
Yeah, teammates with Keenan, and it just never seemed to work.
Yeah.
And then the Yamaha, like, which was Sam Lowes had won that with that team and stuff, and it just never seemed to work. And then he'll kind of come back and regather, and it has a period where he's like a little bit off the radar, and then he'll be like, he's mega dominant on that Moto2 bike.
Yeah.
And then
went quiet. Then he came to BSB with Craig Fitzpatrick, didn't he? And really struggled and stopped riding, and then
almost retired.
Did a stock 1,000 race on the Hawk bike, didn't he? And then got the ride for that year and was fantastic. And then all of a sudden was thrust back into the limelight. Then probably had his head turned by another team and decided to jump. It didn't work. But now he's stuck with that team. They've changed manufacturer, and then it's working again.
It is working, yeah.
So, we were just saying about how careers change. You're like, that's a roller coaster.
Yeah, massively.
But so I guess people listening to it go, oh, why Cal? Yeah, he's my mate, 1, but 2, there's something in there, but it's frustrating for me to almost watch him sometimes, because you're like, there's more there, but it's whether he wants to unlock it. And he can do that, like, as much as someone from the outside might try and assist him, unless he wants to do that. I think he's got it in his pocket.
Yeah.
It's
And it
how
is-
much he wants to do that.
And it is also interesting the fact you've said Skinner when Lee's ahead of him in the championship at the moment on the same bike.
Yeah, but I said Skinner for last year. If I'd asked
Oh, right.
last
Yeah,
year.
sorry. I thought you
Yeah,
meant for it. But
Yeah, no,
it
Skinner
is a
would be
natural.
out.
It is a natural thing though that people do often would pick.
In a way, like,
I think it's because he's
Lee
younger than us.
Jackson is probably the Alicia Spargaro of BSB.
Yeah.
You know, like how we just spoke about, like gets overlooked. Lead at the moment is just, he is always there. He will always be there. He's fight for wins. He'll win some, might win the championship. But he's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but some people just don't ever get that. So you mentioned Dan Linfoot before. He never really got the, like the real sort of respect that he deserved for what he was doing. Same as, let's go big with it, Joan Mir when he won the MotoGP World Championship. Like the most forgotten world champion ever. It was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
No one almost blinked an eyelid. Like I don't even think Suzuki sold a championship T-shirt for him. It was just like...
It is not like say...
They were like, oh, well, we'll see who wins next year, shall we? It was bizarre.
You're right, like say, if it was at the NEC, like if Marquez was coming,
Yeah.
there would be a buzz. If Quattararo was coming, there'd be a buzz. Mia's coming, it would be like, I don't think people would be that bothered.
No,
but
exactly.
He's a genuine world champion on an unfavoured bike. It's like unbelievable what he did. But you are bang on, like it is a weird one. To wrap things up, so we've got quite a break now. We've got another 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah,
4 weeks till Brands Hatch.
Thank God.
Yeah, so hopefully your arm will be in a lot better position by then. And then obviously in that gap there'll be World Superbike races and MotoGP at Assen this weekend. And have you got anything else to wrap things up?
No, I'm all good. I'm just happy to be back. It's nice.
Excellent.
I want to know who dropped out.
No one. We've it's just difficult at the moment. I've been working down in Coventry, so and obviously just coordinate with Dom. I'm hardly ever home at the moment, but yeah, appreciate you coming round. It is something like 8 or 9 or something that you've been on now, so thanks for that. And yeah, massive thank you to our sponsors, Colchester Kawasaki, to all of our patrons. Really appreciate all the support, and we'll look forward to catching up sometime soon.
Bob on.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Chasin The Racin, powered by Colchester Kawasaki, part of the Global Moto Group. We supply new Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, Royal Enfield, Kawasaki, Sim, Mutt and Benelli motorcycles.